So hello everybody, welcome. Hopefully we got this working. Welcome to my first special guest star, Cmdr Cockings, Samuel Cockings from Trekyards, talking about his awesome fan film Trek project, Convergence. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Special guest star. Maybe just average Joe, but thanks. Hi.
Oh come on, you're part of the whole Trek YouTube family, so no, it's an
I'll go
honor
as far
for you
as that.
to.
I'll say that.
Well, it's an honor for you to choose my channel to come and hang out on, and I certainly appreciate it.
Well, you know your Trek, so I'm interested to see what you think of this project because it's actual Trek for Trekkies, hopefully.
Oh, it looks really interesting so far. I haven't had a lot of time to really read up super a lot on it, but yeah, and anything that takes place post Voyager, anything that's like in the future, I'm all for, because I am sick to death of prequels and I'm just tired of them. I'm tired of Trek that doesn't look like Trek, and yeah, it's it's a trip. So yeah, if you want to tell everybody a little bit about like give us your sales pitch right now.
Yeah.
What is this about?
It's called Convergence. It's the biggest fan film crossover event ever. But that's not its best sell. That's just the coolest thing. It's also a post TNG story that takes hopefully a good moral sort of grey situation, see what happens. These interesting characters with good CG, good costumes, and just hopefully a story and a product that you can watch and not think, oh, this is a fan film. Because I do this professionally. I've been doing filmmaking professionally for years now. It's my degrees in. I've been doing visual effects for 5 years, so hopefully it's a good enough quality for that. And just a story I really want to tell about a new ship that I designed, which is also cool. But it's the first time this ever happened, and it's a pretty big scope for what it is. It's still fully guideline, at least almost all guideline, inside that, and yet to get every single iota of coolness out of the 30 minutes or just over. So it's ambitious, but also very doable. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it sounds awesome. So we do. Seraph will be linking in the chat like the descriptions and the links to like the Indiegogo campaign. And we do have, I think, I don't know if the links are working, but he can link in the chat like the ship, the video that you guys made over on Trekyards of the ship, and of course there's all kinds of other links that he can drop for you guys. So yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit about like the Indiegogo campaign and some of your stretch goals? What are you kind of looking to get for the crowdfunding?
Well, there is one. I mean, this is, with any sort of cool project, you need some sort of budget, and a lot of these projects that came before Intrepid, which is the longest running, but Dark Armada, again, over 10 years, they never crowdfunded. They've always done sort of smaller stories in an age where it's just for the fun of it. Whereas now, with all the big, sadly gone, but you expect certain level of quality, and they all had, tens of thousands of dollars of budget, and I'm trying to raise 5,500 to afford everyone to actually fly into the same room, because that's really cool. You can actually film them interacting, let them actually act. Two of these people, 3 of them actually heads of their project, so they've had to micromanage the films, but they come in just as actors and let them play in this environment, and you'll see a lot better from them. And we've done already a first shoot, and I will say I think it's one of the best performances as these characters, which is what you want to see. You want this to be up in scale, but just film in the same room, the same high quality studio, same high quality cameras, the same high quality sound. It's not an average fan film from that. And flying, 4 international people is expensive. 1 from America, 1 from the Netherlands, 1 from Scotland, and then 3 from England. It does cost raw funds. You can't get away from that. Yeah. And then hotels for everyone, and then food for everyone, and lunch for everyone. I mean, there's just raw costs, and new costumes, and some 3D art created. Some new ships, some new backgrounds. It's a lot of custom stuff. It's not just another TOS Connie show or another Enterprise D show. It's something as well original, but still very as close to canon as you can get. So it needs a bit of a budget. And
absolutely.
We're almost there. We're at 5,000-ish. And we just need a bit more to get to the base goal, and we can film it happily, and then 6,000 to have all the fees covered as well. There's still cool perks for a low amount or a high amount. But, anything's cool. And be part of this journey. There you go. That was me selling it.
There's a question in the chat. Does Captain Foley know you're moonlighting?
No, actually.
Oops. Oh no.
I'm gonna post on Trekyards though, so
okay.
So I said to Stuart, I'll post it. So I always do with him.
Does it have squirrels? 90 Lancaster asks.
think so. I mean, there could be squirrels on any of them. I mean, sure, one of the ships that gets blown up. I mean, no one gets blown up. I don't kill 10,000. It's a squirrel crew. Space squirrels don't get blown up. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Dafter thinks this is a really good question. How will it fit into the CBS Paramount guidelines? Because we know that they have some rules and issues with like fan projects not having to like apply to a certain amount of rules. So I'm sure.
It'll fit in there like a glove.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it'd be absolutely fine. I mean, one of the things about this, obviously, is that it is a culmination of all these different people, these different projects, which obviously we all know, understand these guidelines. So the fact that all five of us agree to be in it should give you a certain confidence of it probably works. We're not worried. And two people combined, all of us have like 27 years of fan film experience, and all of us think it'll be fine. No, it'll fit into all the guidelines bar one or two. But they're guidelines, not rules, and every single project is on a case by case basis. And this is a fan film of fan films, in essence. We're not taking Kirk and saying, "Oh, we're recasting Kirk, and he's on the Enterprise. The Enterprise gets destroyed because of drug crime."
Yeah,
and it's an hour and 30, and it's all nude. We're not doing everything we can to really screw with them. It's very everything is on the tin. It says what it is, it shows what it is. The budget's super low, and understandably so when you know what it's for. And CBS, if you look at their track record of fan films over the last, 30 years, 3 have been talked to. 1 has been stopped, and you can understand why. 2 have been cease and desisted, one of which got a deal, and that was me. I got a deal. Continues got a deal, and they released 4 after the guidelines, and 24 films were released after the guidelines, all of which break the guidelines, and none have been talked to. So the currently CBS has like a 99% approval rating by not doing anything. So not overly worried.
All right, that's really good, because I always get kind of concerned hearing about like other issues that we've had like recently. But no, I mean, I think as long as you guys understand and know what you're doing, and then this is kind of why I'm okay sending my viewers over to you guys. And I know we have a lot of common viewers too, and a lot of people might not know about this project. And of course, anytime we have sort of really well done fan projects that really understand the source material and really understand Star Trek, I'm all for promoting those sort of things too, because that's kind of one of the things that we need in the community. We need stuff to really look forward to, and we really need stuff to be excited about with Star Trek. And yeah. 90 Lancaster, where do you pin the comm badges? Well, you pin the comm badges where they're supposed to go.
He means the nude track.
Oh, the nude track. Oh, okay.
Wherever you want.
Yeah. Yeah, you get like on Babylon 5, they have a little thing that sticks to the back of your hand. Yeah.
It's just a stamp. It's just a 3D stamp. Yeah.
So, did you want to get into any of your like plot details? Like, I mean, without like getting
spoilers, do you?
If you want to get into spoilers, you can. If you want to kind of be vague,
it's Avengers. Everyone dies except the original 7. I don't know. No, yeah. I mean, well, I want to ask you, what do you think about the sort of the images, the story that you've seen, the teasers? I mean, is this? I mean, well, you've seen Continues, and you said you like post TNG, but is this sort of thing that you're interested in specifically? Is it?
Specifically, anything post TNG, I'm all for. Anything that gives me new characters and new stuff to think about. Yes, absolutely. And for like, if you go back and look at something like Star Trek Continues, I love Star Trek Continues. I kind of consider that canon, because they were so accurate to the timeline, to the story, and some of the acting was a little hammy. Some of the acting was really spot on, but to every little detail that they got right in that, to the feel of Star Trek, that is kind of that is kind of my biggest. That is kind of my most excitement on any of these sort of projects, is like, you got to get the feel of Star Trek right. So,
well, it's interesting because TOS has a very specific feel. It's more morals based. It's more dealing with issues. As a non-American, watched the Continues episode about the Civil War. It was like my least favorite episode, because it was dull and nothing. I mean, it had no impact beyond what was literally on screen for me. And sometimes TOS, if you don't like the issue, if you don't get the issue, it doesn't quite work. So do you, as a fan, do you want this hardcore message? What is the feel of Star Trek then? What can I do to make that work for you then, as a fan of Trek?
Well, for me,
okay, you now, aren't I? Sorry, trading is going back in.
I know. No, yeah, respect for the franchise is super important. I don't mind some of the hardcore messages, like even on Star Trek Continues, where they had the episode with John Delancey, where half of where the planet couldn't see color, and they were super prejudiced against a certain other planet kind of coming in. It was very much synonymous with a lot of American kind of political stuff of today. They gave you a really good sort of message of, well, we're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to give you the opportunity to decide for yourselves on this one. And those type of messages on Star Trek, like you can have political discussions, civil discussions, moral discussions, as long as you kind of leave it up to the people to kind of debate and decide, and you leave it up to, you know, you like with the planet, with John Delancey and his family. He didn't realize that, you know, his wife was I believe it was his wife or his daughter or somebody that was of the other sort of planet of people that they were prejudiced against, you know, and it really kind of changed how they thought about stuff. And they left it, and Kirk left it up to them to decide, okay, are you going to destroy these people or not? But by the way, before you do that, here's a way to see color, you know. And if I'm remembering it correctly, it's been a while since I've seen it, but like those type of discussions. And they did the same type of stuff with About a Girl on the Orville, where they decide, okay, here's our moral issue with this. Do we have the right to force our views on this other society? You know, those sort of things. And those are kind of Trek values at their core, is kind of the debate of, do we even have the right to decide these things? And Babylon 5 does that so well as well. So those type of things I really love in Trek, and that type of stuff keeps Trek really Trek in the spirit of Trek to me.
Hey, that's good you said that. Yeah, for me the story is a tricky one, because it had to be interesting, had to be stand on its own, had to say something, but also I don't want to be preachy, because okay, so DS9 is better for characters, Voyager is better for sci-fi. You watch them both at the same time, you get both. It's a win-win. But I do like Voyager has, you know, 1,000 new ships, 1,000 new alien races, does all that just better. Yeah, the sci-fi better. And I love the sci-fi more. I'd like to watch a really cool story about a black hole and time dilation. There's no moral about racism, but it's a really cool story. That, for me, I love the sci-fi a lot. So I don't want to be just too preachable. There's got to be something there. And so this story, and it's given away in the Indiegogo, you know, the Siphons, which are the primary antagonists. I'll say antagonists just to, because, you know, everyone's got both sides of the coin. They're from Star Trek Renegades, the original branch of Renegades, and they were given a base backstory and a sense of more, but then they had to swap out of Star Trek, so they had to abandon that. I always thought they were an interesting race. They were biotechnological. They had a grudge against Federation with a lot of deeper things there. It was interesting with a lot of potential. And I knew that, well, I've got 3D models. I worked on Renegades. They're such an easy bring into this crossover. Have them be this villain. Give them a retconned, enhanced backstory, you know, because it's a prequel to Renegades if you look at the timeline. So you'll gain something by watching Renegades again. And, you know, their whole thing in the story is that, you know, in the future, in the couple of years after the events of the story, a single ship comes in and destroys the entire Federation. I think about it for a second. Like, I mean, literally every single planet, every single person. You can't even really picture that. You know, think both the, because I like, obviously references are important, and just thematic parallels. Think Riker from Parallels. The Borg killed everybody. He's bearded. The ship's blowing up. That terror, that emotion there. And then you think of kind of the episode maybe Twilight. Yeah, I think it is Twilight, when you see the Xindi have destroyed Earth, they've destroyed everybody. There's only this one fleet. Again, the desperation, we're banding together is all we have. Both those vibes are really interesting. What happens if now in post TNG everything is gone? That's literally hundreds of trillions of lives. You can't even contemplate that. And so the Siphons do this, and that sounds a bit harsh already, but I equate the Siphon ship, a single ship. I call it the Wolverine of ships. Now, does that make sense? Can you guess what I mean by that? As how it can destroy everyone, how it can blow up every fleet. What do you think?
Oh wow, my comic book analogies are kind of a little lacking. So I'm assuming that it is like the sharp little, almost ravenous thing that can just go in and attack without stopping, right?
Well, kind of. Wolverine, yeah, is an incredibly amazing attack, but he also regenerates quicker than you can hurt him.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't stop Wolverine. That's kind of the point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might be able to trap him, but you can't really stop him. So if a ship is living and it can heal, kind of like the Borg cube, but more literal. If you're shooting torpedo, phaser, and then after the explosion happens, it heals. I mean, it doesn't matter how many ships you have, you can't win against that. And after a certain number of engagements with no survivors, you change tactics. But again, how do you defeat something like that? And so I thought it was such a simple, elegant way, you know, an organic living creature ship that can just heal. It's so simple. It doesn't have to be the most advanced ship, but something special wins. And so it corners this very last fleet, this very last few ships. And the character we see from the future, Will Shepherd, yeah, that's his name. He, luckily, you know, plot convenience, but you know, it's all part of the plot. The very last Section 31 agent, which in itself, they're all dead. Holy shit, that's a big deal. Sends this last fleet, the last like 12 ships of everyone, with you know, refugees and crew and everyone. The Spock time jump calculations, the original ones using Star Trek 3 and TOS. And I've always thought, you know, why don't we just go back in time? If we can do it in a crappy Bird of Prey, why can't we do it in anything else? Anna Connie can do it. So I explain in the storyline, because it's got a less than 1% chance of going right. It was a fluke he did it those 2 times or 3 times. So every time they try it, they die or don't come back. And so at what point do you stop trying this 1% chance thing? So they've always failed. But plot convenience / it's just the plot. This last ship does manage to do the time jump and get back in time. And then the question of, you know, he now has this mission. He's back 3 years before the war started. Every single person he's ever known is dead. But then they're alive right now. Unlike Nero, who was stupid in the way he approached his, I'm back in time, I'm going to save it, and didn't go back to Romulus and talk to Romulan Council. Idiot. This guy is trying to be clever, both as a professional officer, not to affect the timeline, but also to fix the timeline. And the real question is, what is justifiable when you're trying to save literally every single life in the Federation? And where do the Federation morals still apply? Where do they not apply? What is justifiable? What is not? I want at the end of the film, I've carefully written it, and luckily all my actors agree, you can side with any single person at the end. It's all grey and everyone's justifiable. So it's up to you if you agree with what happens. Don't agree, think it wasn't far enough, think it was too far. It's up to you. But no one's bad, you know. No one is too far, maybe. So I think it's interesting. You know, I always think that if you're the captain of a Federation starship, you've made it. You're one of the best.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be a monster, shouldn't be a killer, shouldn't be dumb, shouldn't be mean. You should be really, really good at your job. And these guys have to be good at their jobs. And to try and make that work still was very difficult. But it, you know, that's my thought. What do you think?
Well, I'm the way you're describing it, it definitely kind of reminds me a little bit of how Babylon 5 handled, you know, spoilers for Babylon 5 if you guys don't want them, but how they kind of handled the sort of Earth sort of civil war, where you can absolutely side with either side, and you can understand like why Sheridan brings in Lockley, who's on the other side of the whole thing in the end, you know, or even God, and I totally lost my train of thought on there. But no, this is definitely one of those like well thought out sort of things where it's exactly kind of what I was saying before, where you know you want the discussion, you want the debate, and yeah, it's definitely kind of giving me like some like Babylon 5 feels, where you have both sides of a moral decision. You know, I like to kind of use Babylon 5's Dr. Franklin episode where he went to save the life of a child who was dying despite the parents wanting the kid saved because they thought the kid was gonna, you know, his soul was gonna escape his body if he was operated on. And you can see definitely both sides of the argument there, and that kind of, you know, that's kind of very deep, complex story writing that we don't get in a lot of modern, professionally done science fiction series nowadays. So to have something like that in a fan series, I'm, you know, 100% on board for that. That actually sounds really awesome. And it looks like in chat they're saying yes, they want to see it. Interesting premise. Yeah, they're can't wait. Samuel Peter Quinn says, yeah, and hello everybody in chat. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Nice to have some regulars from Trekyards as well.
Yeah.
I've said to people before, if you can only make one fan film, what do you do? And there's a lot of really cool special effects in this. There's a lot of cool space stuff, a lot of beautiful things, a lot of beauty shots of the Intrepid. I picked doing the whole film in a movie anamorphic widescreen, which has black bars on top and bottom. We've never seen Voyager in that, or the Equinox, or any of those Canon ships. So just by literally doing as simple as that, you presented a whole new feel for these ships. And so it's something new upon new upon new, despite being super familiar. Because I like Trek Canon, I like TNG. That's such a broad era that you can look at. And this show, it's not a fan series, remember, it's just a two-parter fan movie episode short. It takes the ship launches at the same year as Nemesis. It takes place 3 years after Nemesis, so it's just right there. You don't expect much to change a couple of years in, even after Nemesis. And we know Nemesis hasn't changed much because they're still using all the old uniforms. The ship hasn't been refitted too much, so it's still very familiar. And yet the Horizon looks a bit newer, a little bit more up to date, sleeker, as is the Trekyards catchphrase.
Yeah. Well, and there is a video that I think Sarah can link in chat about the ship. So I don't know if you want to go into more details about the Horizon or about
let me bring that up, because I can do that, can't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
sure. Be careful what you screen share too. And I think I can like click on that as well to leave it up, but.
Yeah, so that's the Horizon, a brand new design by me and Rick Sternbach, who, as you may know, is one of the legends of Starship ship design. He did the Voyager, DS9, Equinox, Prometheus, and so many other famous ones.
Nice. And so you actually have like official people also contributing to this as well.
It's kind of, you're not meant to, and technically speaking, Rick was on the project before there was a project. I wanted to design a ship. I asked him 8 months ago. He said yes. Then I ended up making a film. So it's kind of a
okay.
Unintentional.
For legal reasons, especially with the CBS's. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was an absolute dream to work on. I couldn't imagine such a cool experience when I was, starting Trekyards or just in life. And obviously you get a lot of genuine Trek with his vibe. Obviously, what's your impression of this ship, this brand new fan Canon ship? What do you think?
It fits so well into like that post Voyager sort of era, because like this is such a layman sort of way to describe it for me. I always kind of thought that the Voyager looked a little bit like a dog head, because it was more elongated, and it makes sense to kind of stay away from the rounded. You don't need them aerodynamic, obviously, but just to have the more sleek look, to make them look a little less flying saucery, because if you kind of take the line that Dax said in Deep Space Nine about the whole 60s Star Trek series looking what was it, retro chic or a retro futuristic chic, I can't remember her exact line, but that's kind of how I justify having the giant flying saucer sort of ships for the saucer section, at least. So this kind of looks just a lot more sleek, and yeah, it looks very much like it fits in with post Voyager for sure. Voyager looks like a spoon, Seraph says. I thought it looked like a dog head.
Yeah, I put the comparison picture there because I think, it's got to fit into canon. It's got to make sense, And obviously, as being one half of Trekyards, people are going to really dissect this thing. I had to really give it not only its all, but also make it thought through. And I think if you look at this chart, you don't think anything of it, I think.
Oh no, it looks perfectly fine right there. Let's see, can I click? Yeah, I can't click to make it stay. But yeah, it looks perfectly like it should fit, and you've got the clear line of everything that needs to, everything. Yeah, I'm trying to say this without like slamming Discovery, but it looks. You've got the color scheme right, you've got the shapes right, you've got the feel right. You don't have overly elongated nacelles. You don't have a weird cutout section, and I don't want to just slam Discovery, but like I think people know that it's my channel. I'm going to be slamming a little bit of Discovery every now and then.
People have seen our Discovery videos pointing out its flaws, so there's no secrets there.
No, it looks like it absolutely makes sense to be in line with canon. So yeah, it fits perfectly. I'm very impressed. Did you have like complete details of every single deck laid out as well, or?
Work in progress. Work in
Okay.
progress. Yeah, it's funny. Also, I've spoken to all these designers for 4 years now, and almost always it was story determines X, Y, Z on the ship, and
Yeah.
so when you design it, I mean, why decide how many floors the pool is?
Yeah.
You know, if it has 7 seconds on screen time, it never comes in the equation. And we have always tried to push that and say, well, Rick, now the show's over. If you were to say about the pool, for 2 or 3 days, you know, it's annoying, but also really cool. And they love that sort of thing. So for this, literally, again, same thing. I was designing, I knew the function of the ship, which is form follows function. If there's no design behind it, they wouldn't build it. Because you've got to think it's both a fictional starship, a design that you want people to enjoy, but also it's being built that took 3 years to build it by people and work bees and engineers on a very advanced. I'm trying to think all the way in the future and what makes sense. So it's all these processes that you shouldn't look at and think those nacelles are really, really long and spindly. And where's the warp coil and why has it got 3 basards? I mean, whatever. You shouldn't think that for a second. And most of the things in the story, this ship is almost incidental in a sense. This is after its 3-year mission, and like it's not 5, it's 3-year mission. And really, it's just the sense of it being the big brother of the fleet, because it's the biggest of the 4 ships it's in, not by a lot, just it is a little bit bigger. But we're going to do a Trekyards episode. Obviously, I've got a lot of knowledge. I know the full backstory. We've got MSD in production actually, and we're going to release that as a new perk coming up in the last couple of days of the campaign. I'm so proud of the MSD. It looks so nice. It's like that even more genuine Trek, when a proper like 4 to 8K MSD. It's like work out what Easter eggs you can put in are going to be. So I'm going to put a TARDIS in there somewhere. I know. I think you meant to put a what's the Back to the Future time device? It's
flux capacitor.
Yeah, you meant to put that in somewhere as well. It's one of those little Easter eggs that everyone puts in. So I know a lot about it, and for those fans that have asked, it doesn't split into 3. Obviously, it's got Prometheus vibes. I'm sure you thought that as well, but no, it doesn't split into 3. It doesn't even split into 2. It was meant to originally as just a conceptual thing, but not for this version. It doesn't. Its design is featured around having one single powerful starship that needs to use everything to its fullest potential to successfully work to its fullest potential, if that makes sense. It's kind of the opposite to Enterprise D or the E, where, hey, if we separate, that's awesome. It's like, no, we're going to stay together and do what we can.
Exactly.
Sort of thing. I mean, zooming in, something people have said, is that it's got, 6 warp nacelles and 8 sets of coils. What do you think? Because some people don't like that as much, but there is a distinct purpose to it.
If they're there for a reason, I have no problem with it. I mean, this is kind of one of the things one of my favorite ships definitely is like the Stargazer sort of class, because I like the little 4 nacelles. I think they're cute, but no, I have no problem with having more nacelles. It's and more, warp coils and everything. I think if it's there for a reason, which clearly is, you're thinking, okay, well, if one gets knocked out, we still need to be able to travel, or we need all these for extra power, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And it just kind of, it makes me happy to see like that people are actually putting thought and design into the ships. And you clearly know, and this is one of the things I love about Trekyards in general, is that you guys know your ships. You know exactly what detail, what part does what thing. You know exactly where the docking bays are, and where the deflector goes, and what it does, and what the nacelles do. And a lot of people who are kind of casually writing some of these series, even in other franchises, they might not even think that far in depth of like how the ship might function. And that's something kind of, as a lot of Trek fans really, really appreciate, is that people kind of put thought into these things. So I'm happy with that.
In the real world, you got to work within limitations. If a car can only go this many miles an hour, this many gallons to, whatever, like those are limitations. But you design a new car around the limitations. You don't say, well, how do we go across the galaxy? Let's invent a biological network. You try and it needs to make sense. Otherwise, what's the point? This is science fiction, not science fantasy. You look at Star Wars and they hyperspace anywhere, at any speed for plot. There's no attempt at consistency, but it never has to be. And so this one was interesting, and there is there's a form follows function approach to the different nacelles, and the simple reason is that it's a hyper long range explorer. what Voyager, if Voyager would have been lost in Delta Quadrant, this ship would have been better suited, much better suited. It's not only bigger, more capable, but it's got those main nacelles, because I don't like God ships. The idea that, oh, this can go 9.9999999 or transwarp or spore drive, or it has a blade of armor that can take 10 Borg cubes. Or, God things destroy the universe. You devalue everything else around it, like upscaling things. That's why it's also not bigger, because that would be, what's the point?
Exactly.
And so this ship is not the fastest in the fleet. It's not the best in the fleet, but at one thing, it is the most advanced, and that is pure efficiency and stability of warp systems. By that I mean that Voyager, its cruising speed is warp 6, but at its maximum speed of warp 9.975, it could have got across the Delta Quadrant in 30 years. But because you've only got cruising speed, it had to do 70 years. That's a massive difference, 30-year difference. And once you maximum, you have to then stop for a bit and recover from that, the stresses. This ship is cruising speed is warp 9.975 for 40 hours. And that's just the standard. So instantly, it can do a lot of distance, a lot of speed, a lot of, it's just very efficient. And so each set of nacelles are to try and generate that really efficient field. It's got hyper efficient, intermixed chambers in the ship that can use fuel very efficiently. And again, Rick Stenback, I've talked to him about all this stuff, and he says, yes, that makes sense. There's things we can do to make this work. So it's all been vetoed by the legend. There are 2 warp cores, which is also important. A primary and a smaller secondary, which we'll see in the MSD. But it's a specific reason. This ship is going to go out beyond the edge of known space because that's its purpose. It's going to be out of contact, and that's its purpose. And it's going to be able to go from A to B very efficiently. That's its purpose. And just redundancy as well. If you're lost out beyond Federation space, you need to be, you need to know you're going to get back. So that's the basic role of the ship, and that's what we see in Convergence. It coming home finally after 3 years from the edge of Federation, beyond the edge, hasn't talked to Starfleet in 3 years. And what happens while they're still out beyond the edge?
Nice.
Yeah, I can talk about ships. Can you tell?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, and there's nothing wrong with talking about ships. This is why Trekyards. This is why I always send people to Trekyards, because you guys know your ships, and and like I'm somebody, I can like pick apart the story, the moral stuff, the psychology, all those things. Ships, I know less about for sure, but I mean I do have an appreciation for having something like a thought behind it. You have something like, why is this designed the way it is? And to bring up something like Discovery again, why are the nacelles so much bigger on Discovery? They've not, to my knowledge, given any real explanation. They just are, just because we thought it would look cool. Why does it have a cutout in the middle? Oh, so it can spin because of the thing. Okay, well, we finally understood that. But with something like this, it really makes a lot more sense, because if you take like your ship for speed, or you take something like the Defiant for power, or for basically, this is a weapon. Yeah. So I mean, I definitely have an appreciation for people actually thinking through and wanting to design something based around the story, based out of necessity, based out of this is going to make sense to our story. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this is my ship. I've been asked this for 4 years now. It had to be something special, and when I did the original kit bash of what I thought the shapes would be, I was blown away by how it kind of worked from different angles. And if you look at it, like, that's a nice looking angle. That's it's different from every single angle. It has a different feel. It has a different, it kind of works. I think it was a happy accident, honestly. All thought, but still a happy accident as well. And you got the double shuttle bay, the reflector, the many nacelles, and it's not quite done yet, because this is going to be better than a show model. Actually, it's going to have full interiors. All the windows will have real stuff in them, and it'll have a all the 10 forward locations will have proper custom rooms in, and two full shuttle bay sets, and yeah, it's gonna have a lot of stuff.
Nice. Is that a shuttle bay up on top? On the
there's 2. There's a smaller bay which has the little Type 9 shuttles, or the equivalent. Because I thought, well, you can have a captain's yacht, but that's very one-off, heavy duty. If it gets blown up, that's a trouble. I thought, well, if you just need to quickly go across the system like a taxi, just take the smaller little shuttle, just always on standby, just leave. Or if you have a specific mission shuttle, use the big bay. Because imagine having to try and maneuver around all these different shuttles, or just have a dedicated, quick launch bay.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense too. See, this is why sometimes the fans need to kind of be involved, you know, because they think about the things that you might not think of. I don't even know where the shuttle bays are in Discovery. Like,
Well, it's the
to be
big
honest.
hole at the back.
Yeah, I
One
know,
big
but
bay.
I know, just like I'm just being like, I don't know, I'm being bitchy, I guess, about it. Like I said, it wouldn't be my stream if I didn't like complain about it for a little bit here and there. But no, yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, when we have like fan projects like this, and when we have all these sort of awesome, you know, things that are really like they're well detailed, they're well thought out, they're not first draft sort of things, you know, you pour a lot of your heart and your soul into these projects. Those things tend to do so much better, and it stays so much more true to like Star Trek. Just look at Star Trek Continues, you know, that's clearly a passion project. And this is one of the things that, this is kind of why I get so harsh on Discovery and stuff too, because fans tend to put so much more passion into these things than a lot of the kind of corporate mentality, you know, people. I'm here for a job, I'm here for a paycheck sort of things. And that tends to kind of be the impression that I get, even if it might not necessarily be the case on some of those sort of shows. But
well, that's the joke, isn't it? Almost everyone working on Discovery is a fan at different levels, but you know, if John Eves is told by the top fan in charge to do this, this, and this, even if he knows they don't quite work,
exactly,
the top fan is telling you, and you trust that the one, you know, guy paying his salary, the guy that's got the trust of the studio, will do the right decision. But you know, if the, you know, there's a reason why Voyager never got damaged, both practical and thematic. I mean, there's, you know, there's all these things that you can't necessarily afford. Whereas a fan, with no limitations of studio or of you know, you can make it more Trek just because there's no, which is interesting because the story, the shots, I mean, of the film, when you start putting yourself into a corner, there's a couple of shots when I was working, because I done a full previs of the entire film, so I know how long it is and the pace and such. And a couple of shots, I was like 5 or 6 into a certain scene, which, you know, had a certain flow. And I get to the point where I'm trying to do a shot, it's like, oh shit, this looks crap, because the lighting is from a direction. We've already set it up in the last 4 shots, but now the ship's doing something very specific, very narrative. It's like, oh shit, that doesn't quite work. So now I've got to be clever. But that's just that. This is the story. This is forcing me to do it.
yeah.
And you can put yourself in holes there just by doing it. But it's also a challenge. I'm working on several fan films, and the most recent one, I'm doing this big sequence of a chase in an asteroid field. And I've never done that sort of big 3D asteroid field before. And he wants on top of planetary rings. Okay, cool. But then I know that he has to look and feel real. So there's this big, you see the rings. You see at least a good 20% of the rings, but you see it in the distance. So now I've had to actually put rocks continuing off above all the rings, even if you can barely see them in the distance, because if the rocks suddenly stopped, you'd notice, because they should be there, so you need to put them there. It's another little bit, you know, but it caused a cool shot because it's like effort's been put in, you know.
Yeah,
yeah,
and you can usually tell when, like, you might not be aware of what is wrong on a shot sometimes, but you'll always say, well, this doesn't look right, you know. This is the same thing if you're like, have your actors and they're not in the same sort of eye line as each other. You have to really pay attention to that sort of thing in filmmaking as well. And the audience might not be able to pick it out specifically if they don't know that much behind the scenes stuff about lining up shots and eye line and lighting and things like that. But there'll be something in their subconscious saying, this isn't quite right, this doesn't look quite right, there's something weird going on here. So yeah, just little things like that, just little details like that makes such a huge difference for sure.
Well, I mean, obviously we all heard of Red Letter Media. What a great group. And in the recent-ish Last Star review, Plinkett says, you know, you might have noticed it, but your brain did.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's just a flaw is still a flaw is still a flaw. You know, if you can explain why it's a flaw, then it's a flaw. Like, I know that, you know, my film, there's a few plot conveniency things. You know, why is this ship suddenly go back in time? Because that's the story. That's the thing about all these projects. Why is this one man the special one that this can do? Because he's the one person in the world that's done it. You know, Yeah, it's just
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's so many things that you can nitpick on a bad story, but there's a lot of stuff you can kind of just, okay, whatever. I'm really enjoying it. I'm along for the ride. Stuff like in Star Wars, in A New Hope. Why do they send just a few TIE fighters
yeah.
after Luke? When they could send all of them. Well, you're enjoying the story, and I guess it would kind of be overkill too. But why do they just send a few instead of all of them, and they can just destroy this one stupid this one guy.
Luke, we've got 10,000 TIE fighters on our back. Oh shit.
Yeah. but you kind of don't pay attention to the little nitpicks like that when you're really enjoying the story, the characters, and at the end of the day, it's storytelling that kind of matters. Number one, and the most important thing. And then you can kind of go in and worry about like all the little details, like did the eye line match up, does the lighting match up, and all of these things make something super important and good and enjoyable for fans. And I guarantee if things like The Last Jedi had a lot more moments where people were like really along for the ride, people would complain less. If they did a lot more things where they didn't mess up like characters and really hurt the fans' perception of and basically let a lot of fans down. I think they could have done a lot more, and it would have been more well received. But yeah,
I hate plot holes that with a passion. When you're writing a draft, you get rid of them in the second draft. If they make it to air, that's your fault. You know what I mean? There should be no, I've written several fan films now, and that's part of the fun. It's trying to work out why. I can see pacing when I wrote Convergence. I understood, okay, this scene is now dragging. I know instinctively this is too long, and it was because they try and save a planet. That's the big sort of momentum of the story. There's a very real save these people. Goes from big scale to small scale quite quickly, and as a long time I was trying to work out how do we make that sequence make sense with the pace, and then I talked to Nick Cook, who plays Daniel Hunter, and he suggested one little thing, A to B, to cut that and make it into one. It's like, oh, the pace is now quicker, the plot hole's got, what could have been it doesn't quite work, instant quicker resolve. And it's like, yeah, because we thought it through, we talked it out, we filled in the hole. When I talked to I went to a recent convention in England, and they had Cole, the actor that plays Cole from Discovery, and I asked him, why didn't the sarcophagus ship come and visit them after? Why didn't he come back after 6 months? Until 6 months to find him? He said, "Oh, I must have been busy."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you didn't think a cloaking device was worth coming back the next day? Okay, cool.
Exactly. I know.
It's like not a reason. Whereas I try to really think through this plot because you need to. I've got another fan film I've written again. It's so there's a race in it that shouldn't be encountered yet. So that's not that's producer decision. I've got to include it. So now, because of a canon problem, you've got to make it not a canon problem. Because if you explain it, it's not a canon problem. Enterprise used Borg, but they made it not a canon problem as far as they tried. So if you can give it a bow at the end, then it can work. But if you don't even try, then it doesn't work.
Exactly. And God, it's been a while since I watched Enterprise, but didn't they not name them as, oh, this is the Borg? They just found dead ones, and they're like, what is this? And yeah, you can do that. Same thing with like anytime you travel throughout time in these shows, you can make them match up. You can, it just takes like a quick Google search all the time, and that's kind of one of my biggest things when I pick on Discovery, and I do pick on Discovery, as you guys know. I say, okay, if I can search this live during a video, and a lot of my videos, as you guys know, I do like one take on my video that makes it to the air. I don't edit stuff out. I'll just put on OBS, hit record.
Which I will say I'm quite impressed about, so congratulations. I can't do one takes as much, so good on you, seriously.
It's because I'm bad at editing and I'm lazy. No, and a lot of the time I get in my head too. I'm like, okay, if I go through and try and edit this, back when I was editing like Let's Plays and stuff, I would never know what to cut out, and I would end up cutting out so much it was unwatchable. And yeah, I don't have a talent for it, let's just say. So a lot of the times I'll just kind of go and rant, and I'll be like, oh, I forgot to do something. I'm going to Google search this live and say, okay, here is what House of Core should look like in this timeline. Yeah, they didn't Google it. oh, they're going with the Kalis story of Kalis took off a lock of his hair for the Klingons being, you know, why they're bald. Yeah, let's look what Kalis looks like. Google search, you know. It's like, I remember him having hair.
That's why I really liked Beyond. It's the best of the three, hands down. But Simon Pegg clearly investigated. You know, they have the Franklin have phase cannons. It could be phases. It's not. It's phase cannons. Okay, it should still be shouldn't necessarily be phase cannons because it's post Federation, but there's at least attempt to put in. You know, they mentioned the Xindi. They meant like, oh, good, he used the cannon. He referenced it. Simple things. Literally, I looked past next one. They mentioned the Xindi War. Yeah, phase cannons. It's correct, but it's stuff you expect. You know, and so everything here should be correct. Because why else you know, if you're writing it, it needs to make sense. You're the one creating the deadline to produce it. You're the one creating the deadline to release it. So if you want to take 6 months to write it, there's no excuse for it not to be great. Unless you're a crap writer, that's fair enough. But I've also 10 years of writing experience, and I've got progressively better. And I worked, you know, I brought back 2 actors from Temporal Anomaly, my first fan film that I filmed 5 years ago, and both said a much better script. And one of them is, you know, I couldn't use professional actors. You always can't in the new age, but he's a professional acting teacher at university, so it's a little bit of a different thing. He's been dealing with actors and students for 15 years, and so for him to say it's a good script, he must have seen dozens of scripts, even not being a Star Trek fan. And I don't think that necessarily puts a sour on it. No, because it's the character you're trying to portray, not necessarily, you know.
Yeah, if you have a good script, people will recognize it regardless of, oh, this is a Star Trek movie. You know, a good script is a good script. A good story is a good story. And I think what a lot of filmmakers and TV like producers and writers forget, that you have to make a good story that makes sense in your universe, and you know, people will flock to it even if they're not necessarily a fan of that thing, you know. And this is how you kind of build fandoms. You know, you don't have to say, oh, I'm making a science fiction, I'm making a Star Trek project or a science fiction project, so we need spaceships, explosions, lens flares, and this to make it science fiction. It's like, no. How about make a good story with good characters about people that are relatable and likable, or people that might be a little bit annoying and then kind of work their way into being somebody you really love, you know, good character arcs. And then you can fill in like the technobabble on top of it. You can fill in, how does this fit into our science fiction universe around that? And I think a lot of people don't do it that way.
Well,
I feel like it.
In essence, though, some of the best Star Trek stories are the best stories that happen in Trek universe. You know, In the Pale Moonlight could be any show, could be modern day. But when you attached to the Trek universe, you can then bring in all the canon. You can make it really intriguing. You know, for example, in part of Convergence, there's a reference to Admiral Chekhov, who's head of security staff at Starfleet. That's a reference to Renegades. I could mention any admiral, any whoever, but the fact I mentioned part of this fan film universe is enhancing because I happen to be in the Star Trek universe, or is the fan universe. You know, and we mentioned Boothby at one point because it makes sense in the context of the scene. It could be anybody, but because you've got this massive universe. And again, mentioning Spock's time corners, you know, it's a great out, but also you allow. You know, I'm for fans that might exist their own fan canon. I explain why we never see that again, because that's a plot hole. That's a hole, and if you can sort of help to improve that, hey, you know, continues with that as well. And obviously, Enterprise did that a lot. They helped to fix a lot of TOS stuff, which is great. You know, if you can be clever, clever is important. Clever is important.
Exactly. And that's kind of one of the things that, like, I don't mind references, right? I don't mind having a reference to something if it makes sense, but if you're kind of just doing that, I again, picking on Discovery, if you just kind of say, oh yeah, here's a reference to something because it's Star Trek, here's a tribble on a desk because it's Star Trek, even though it doesn't make sense in the universe yet. Oh, here's a Gorn skeleton, it didn't happen yet. Those type of things really bother me, and they kind of come across as kind of cheap, lazy member berries, basically, to use a South Park reference. You know, like, hey, remember the Gorn? Well, here's a Gorn skeleton. Hey, remember tribbles? Yeah, and it's doesn't make sense yet. We don't need this yet.
We had a massive thing about, you know, the D7. You hear it, D7. Oh my god, fine, and then it comes. It's not a D7. It's like, well, you gave yourself a poor reference that doesn't make sense. So you actively ruined it for yourself by trying to be clever. But you've got to be clever with consistent, otherwise it's not a reference. Then you can't just You know, I'm sure I'd love to see if the Blu-ray release actually changes that dub, because that's one of the easiest flubs to redub.
I don't think
You
they
know,
will. I
no,
don't.
no,
I don't think
they'll.
they're gonna. It's not like so. Like Seraphin is in chat here. He always mentions how he's a huge anime fan, and he always mentions how a lot of the time they will have an anime in like that goes to air with a few animation flaws or whatever, and then they'll fix it for the Blu-ray. I don't see that happening for like American or North American sort of live action films and TV shows and stuff. I don't think they actually go back and fix a lot of that stuff. And it's really easy. It's simple. They could really do it in just one line.
For a lot of movies, they do sometimes change the visual effects for Blu-ray if they didn't quite get the final. It's always seeing subtle things the director sees. That's why there's a director's cut. They fix things. But I mean, the Blu-ray is massively delayed. But that means they had all the fan reaction time. I joked to Stuart, you know, they're retconning the Klingons with a quite lazy but okay excuse, fine, whatever, to have hair. If they're being clever, they would go back into season 1, episode 2, and when you see the holograms of all the houses, you would because they're all digital anyway. You digitally add them with hair, different variations of hair, and now suddenly you've retconned in. Oh, the houses do have different hairstyles, even if 3 of them have hair. And then you would say, well, now we're at war. Now they all shave. That one simple retcon visual effect redo, you could fix another big mistake, and then you know what I mean. So simple things they could do, like the D7, that would be instant fixed. They won't, and that'd be take money. But if they're really clever, if you know, Alex Kurtzman, he's the one still in charge, isn't he? If he was like, I'm really a big Trekkie and I care, there's little things they could do.
Or even after the fact, you know, they could very easily say, yes, these Klingons that you're seeing, you know, yeah, they could, yes, one thing they could fix is go in and add hair to some of the Klingons in the different houses. The other thing they could say, yeah, these Klingons were trying to fix the retrovirus themselves and trying to adapt their flatheads out, and they created this mutation where they're bald and very like more, you know, elaboration on the head plating, and now they have like, you know, more in-depth ridges and more, you know, they could have done something like that in canon, where we already have the virus, the augment virus, retrovirus, the augment virus. We already have we were talking Stargate earlier. This is why retrovirus is in my head. But no, why the augment virus? They could very easily go in and use something in canon like the augment virus to kind of fix these things. My issue is that they won't. They're not going to. They're just going to say, oh, the easiest thing we can do is give them hair. Yeah, that's kind of a cheap, easy fix. Sure, just say they shave their heads, but it's still not right because you could have Googled it. You know, you're going to go this far. You can't just go one more step and hit enter on your search. But yeah. I just wish they would think of those things. And you know, they need to just hire somebody who has the passion, who, you know, they need a, you know, stereotypical comic book guy sort of person to go in and say, you know, actually, we're going to Google this and say, you know, here's how it lines up into canon, and have them.
That's the joke, though, isn't it? Because they obviously are there.
Yeah.
They make points, but if the people above them,
exactly,
you know, are not. And that's the whole joke about, you know, if Brian says to you at the start, okay, we want to do a whole new thing because it's a, you know, a 2018 reboot, but then the people above him say, oh, we can't say that, it's bad press, everyone's going to not watch it, we won't include that in the press release. So now suddenly everyone's doing the right thing, but, you know, the higher up saying it's bad publicity, and now obviously we all start bitching. But if it was clearly, it was designed to be not what it you know, it's, you know, and then that's lost in translation once he leaves, and I have to live with those mistakes and such.
And have they already fired another set of showrunners as well? Like, they had other people in charge after Brian Fuller left, and from what I've read on some of these articles. So yeah, it's I don't know. Well, maybe then here's where I think a lot of people who just assume I'm just a Discovery hater, like, don't kind of realize I really want it to be good. I just want them to go in and retcon some of the big, huge issues and say, oh, and here's the reason why. And yeah, and maybe it'll get good. Maybe the next season they're gonna like pay attention. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And you know, maybe like the Picard series will be wonderful. And
well, no one wants bad TV. No one wants bad content.
No. And that's the thing. Like, and I get a lot of people say, "Oh, if you hate it, why do you watch?" Because I want it to be good. Because like at the end of the day, I want it to be good. I want to point out the things that are wrong with it. So
and
that
you only hate it after you watch the episode. Each episode you hope will be good. So you only hate it once you see the bad episode. That's not your fault, it's their fault. So
no, look at the Runaway short trek episode recently. I was so excited. I'm like, oh, okay, good. We have Tilly. She's like the best character on the show. She's the most developed character. And what did we get? We got this character who comes in, stows away on a ship, and her whole speech is, oh, my planet is my twin. I was born at the same time as my planet. My planet's my sister. I worked in the mines. I'm a princess. Like a 3-year-old telling me a story, and that's kind of what I felt like I was watching, like a 3-year-old kid trying to tell me a story that they made up. And man, it didn't. Tilly could have done one thing and said, "Oh, you know what? Let me go to security. Let me call somebody. Let me realize that there's going to be a transporter log. There's going to be a record of me searching for this person on the computer."
That episode reeks of it only got to second draft. It wasn't third or fourth draft. I mean, it clearly wasn't given a fine tooth comb. You can tell by map plot holes, and like it's really obvious they rushed it into production. And hey, that's cool. We still got something at least interesting. Like I say, I liked it a lot first viewing. Didn't like it a lot second viewing. It was kind of strange. Weird like that.
Stuart's in the chat. He says, "Say hi to me." I said hi to you in the text. So hello. I'm sorry we didn't say we were going live. This is kind of trying to squeeze in a nice stream here, and coordinating with people's schedules. So.
And do want to shout out? We did get a donation to the Convergence Indiegogo during the stream from George Ray, $15. So
thank you.
It all do help. But this is Indiegogo, guys. So if you want to support, please do, because we've still got 600 left to raise minimum, because you should always put minimum, not necessarily maximum. Shall I show you some cool things while we chat then?
Yeah, and Seraph has been dropping the link in. I'll fix the links in the description for the video after the fact too. But yeah, apparently they didn't work for some reason. I guess that was the Google hiccup that we had, where it's like we can't save stuff. So,
so we have our wonderful cast. Do I have a better picture of that? I mean, as a fan of Trek, like, what do you think of the uniform quality? Like, does that look like people playing Star Trek or people being Star Trek?
They look accurate. They do look accurate.
How good that looks. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like the ribbed detailing on the outer jacket. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of effort to like go and study some screenshots if you're going to go through and design a costume and build a costume around something that's existing. It doesn't take a lot of effort to look at a screenshot, And that was kind of one of the things I was complaining about with bringing in Captain Pike's uniform in Discovery Season 2. It's like they just painted the one yellow. But no, you guys actually you're paying attention to detail.
And obviously it's kind of crazy. You put this actor who we've known for 10 years in a clearly Voyager background. You set it up probably the good green screen. I mean, that's just, even for me who made it, it's like, wow, that it's kind of creepy how that looks. Like, he's on green screen, sure, but it looks like a genuine high quality thing. Like, does that look like a fan film?
No, it doesn't. Here, I guess while I'm here, I can show you guys something to kind of compare, like an actual set thing. Yeah, Star Trek experience back when I went there a million times. Let's see if I have them. Let's see which one I have.
And Xavier says, "Did you get them from the CBS wardrobe?" I didn't, but thank you. Appreciate the compliment there.
Yeah, so this is like a long time ago. That's like actually the set.
Yeah, the experience. That was a damn good set. I've been on that as well.
Yeah, that was actually the set. So versus like a modern day.
You might want to change it so that you can see your face and show the audience, because they want to see too.
Yeah, they want to see too. Well, yeah. Here, let me click on it. Well, I had it in the corner here, so do that. Yeah. So if you guys do want to see, it's a bad old picture from like 20 years ago. That's my real hair color, by the way, guys. Yeah. So that's not green screen. That's actually just on the set.
Yeah. And what did you think walking around those recreations?
Oh, that was so cool. That was like awesome. The Star Trek experience set. It was it felt like you're there, and that's kind of one of the things that like nowadays with like modern green screens and things, it looks so much better than it did 20 years ago with green screen technology, and for a lot of the fan films, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been for the experience though. What do you think of the scale? Because we always have how big we think it is. But what do you think when actually on the physical? If that was a full size set, what do you think of? Does it feel as big as you remember, small as you remember?
I remember feeling when I was at the Star Trek experience, it felt huge. Like the bridge just felt huge. You know, they had like the group of people that they take behind, you know, behind security and all that, and behind tactical, and it's or behind science rather. Yeah, they take you through there, and it feels so huge in the scale of things too.
So it kind of felt small to me, actually. I'll admit.
Oh.
I thought it looked bigger on the screen. I remember when I did that, I was a lot younger, but I obviously they wanted to shepherd you around the set.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to see more than this. So I actively walked around. Actually went to like the video was amazing. I've seen it after the fact, but I actually ignored it and actually walked around, and I could see people's faces looking back, and be like, he's just walking around the set. It's like, well, yeah. Yeah, well, I'm on the most deep bridge. Yes, I'm gonna walk around a bit. Give me 2 minutes, Jesus.
Exactly. Well, I had to pay extra, and they let you kind of look around at the stuff if you do the captain's chair photo. But no, if you're just doing the ride, they kind of ushered you through. But yeah, I'm surprised they like didn't make you stay at the group.
Yeah. Well, I was like 10 or 11, so I kind of have the cute factor as well.
Yeah.
But this picture though, again, I love how you go from, you know, what effectively is obviously green screen, but it's like, wow, that's visibly Trek, to then, you know, that's what it took to make it. Yeah, because it's still a film being made, you know, with effort and cameras and people, and that was a exhausting shoot. That was. I was doing the cameras, I was doing the sound, I was doing the directing, I was trying to keep the script in mind. Yeah, but we've got some kind of fancy cameras as well. It's not just little cheap ones, which is I thought was important, because this is a proper green screen studio with proper lights and proper cameras and proper sound. Because, you know, if I could get them, you know, it's my old university I went to for 4 years, so I called in some favors and was able to use their studio, because, you know, you can't just do it in your backyard or your whatever. And they always did, and they've done some great stuff. But I know I wanted just really, really clean key, because as soon as you do that, everything else gets easier.
Yeah, exactly. Now that they're asking in chat, did you rent the cameras?
In essence, yes.
Okay.
But it was more of a case of I couldn't take them off site. I mean, it's a green screen; it's just on one room. But yeah, basically yes, but just for, you know, alumni rates, and over a weekend, so no one else was using them theoretically. But you can see again how silly it looks when you really break it down to what we're actually doing. But it looks, you know, right. Yeah. And because it's green screen, everything's a faked perspective. So I remember I was actually filming both their close-ups and both their like mid shots. So they're meant to be looking at each other, but obviously they're looking at, you know, I'm doing hand gestures, but they're actors. You know, that you fake where they're looking, and as long as you direct them properly and you make it consistent, and you do multiple angles to be able to cut to, you can kind of fake multiple parts of the room without because I want it to be interactive. So, you know, this is an example of when we're doing the rehearsals, because that I thought was very important. That's literally where their framing is going to be. And I said, well, learn this so that you know when to look back, because you still need to have that vibe. But I wanted the genuine one-to-one reaction of he says an order, she reacts in real time. I don't want 7 takes where each one is a cut up. You try and put it together. I want it to be actually interactive. So film them both together at the same time, even if they're not looking at each other. When we got that down, it was, I thought, really important.
Yeah, and those like I was saying earlier, those little attentions to detail, like keeping the eye lines right, the audience will know. They'll pick it up. They might not be aware of it, but they'll pick it up as something's wrong if it doesn't line up.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you can see it's I mean, they just look so good. I was so impressed by their costume quality, because you throw these guys on a green screen, and I mean, again, blowing my own horn there, but this shot could just be a behind-the-scenes shot from a, you know, medium budget Star Trek online web series that was official, couldn't it? Just costumes make a massive difference.
Yeah, the costumes, having the right story as well. You know, just not redesigning the costumes entirely. And even since it's post Nemesis, you could have very easily redesigned the costumes if you wanted to. But there's no reason to. If they're out for 3 years with no contact and then they're coming back, there was no reason. It's kind of the same where if you remember how Voyager still had the older uniforms until they had word that, oh yeah, we changed the uniforms now, but for a while they're still in the old next gen uniforms.
Yeah, I was very we love the canon.
Yeah,
that's the point. And Robin did for his fan series Dark Armada, he did invent new costumes and they look great, but instantly you disconnect a little bit. And things like Renegades, they did a teaser in canon uniform and it looks amazing. And then the uniforms look a bit like, because they weren't probably fitted, they weren't probably whatevered. It looks more like pajamas, whereas these are smart. You connect instantly. It is Star Trek, and I wanted to make sure we got that because it's meant to be that era. It's meant to be that. Again, I want you to be able to watch it, and while it's not necessarily as real as a real episode, you're not going to think it's a crappy fan film with crappy whatevers. And you should never necessarily diss fan films, but just I'm trying to make a Star Trek story, obviously, a low budget web version, but a story. You got some visual effects like this, and again, I try to have sort of pretty and interesting and dynamic, and and I mean, I assume you've seen the Trekyards visual effects, but I try to go a step above for Convergence.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, people tend to be less nitpicky when they know, oh, okay, you're working on a $5,000 budget versus a $9 million budget, I think. Oh, in chat, they're asking, can you ask, will there be any scenes where people point phasers at themselves accidentally? Oh, no.
I try to avoid that. I didn't think captains with this much experience should shush themselves. I thought of it. I thought that could be the Discovery reference. No, I decided not to. I thought it's just more cohesive for the story. Story comes first.
Yeah. I know that's just another dig. Like, yeah, if you guys are coming over from Trekyards, I'm definitely in the I take digs at Discovery. I want it to be better. I'm one of those people. I'm like, just do better. Here's everything that's wrong. Do better. I'm much less neutral than they are over on Trekyards, and that's the thing that I was. If you guys are here and not aware of Trekyards, or if you're coming over here from Trekyards and not aware of my channel, I always try and point people to Trekyards as like they're the neutral zone. They're fair. They know the difference between nitpicking and being telling you the good and the bad, and they will tell you the good and the bad of something. And sometimes I do myself. Sometimes, most of the time, I kind of focus on the ranting and the here's everything that's wrong with it. But yeah. So hopefully you guys all Oh, no worries about being late, anybody. Yeah, and I do want to apologize to Gary over at Nerdrotic. I did leave him a message last night in a group chat saying, I'm so sorry I'm streaming against you. This is really the only time that we could schedule everything between my schedule and Samuel's schedule over in the UK. So I do apologize.
Zones.
Yeah, time zones.
This is amazing. We can do this for free across the world in high definition. That's just amazing. The fact that we can do it.
Yeah. Santo Dominus asks, can you ask Cmdr Cockings if he works in film or TV? His CG skills are awesome.
Thank you. I've been doing filmmaking for about 11 years now, and considering my age, that's pretty impressive. Obviously, that goes from student things that I wanted to make something, but I made a video, not going to call it a film, when I was pretty young, and that got me hooked. Literally, I came back to England because in America we made it on holiday. I came back and I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about making something else, and I have not stopped in 11 years. And then I knew film production. That's what I'm going to do at university. So I did 4 years of that, and within the first month, I was elected the head of the university's students' union video department because I had a bit more experience than everyone else that applied. I led that for 3 years, and then because again, the course was so under my skill set, because I've been doing it for years already, I then took professional work at the same time at university. It paid for me to get my own camera equipment for us. I still use, really high end for a student, but I had to pay my own way and live, because I filmed clubs, I filmed cars, I filmed racetracks, I filmed go-karting, I filmed weddings, I filmed all these different things professionally for different companies, and they gave me a lot of real experience. And then at the end of university, Trekyards happened accidentally, And then I already had, 6 years of editing experience. And because of temporal anomaly, I wanted to do visual effects myself. And I've started quite poorly and I've got better. I already had all the base skill set. And it's just been 4 years of iteratively progressing. Because, if you try and build a space shot in Lightwave almost every day for 4 years, you're going to get a lot better very quickly. And I understand composition. That's what my biggest skill is to give me a room, any room, and give me a camera, and I'll find you an interesting angle. That's what I can do. And so visual effects, if you know how to use the program, the tricky bit is creating the shot. What's an interesting shot? What pace is correct? What looks the best? What sells? For fan films, I always ask them, what happens before and after this? Because that bleeds into the vibe of whatever you're showing. The shots are not out of context. They're in a flow of a scene. Is it action high octane? Okay, now we need a bit of pace. Now we need a bit of that. It's super, super important. So you've got to really think all that. And that's part of the process. So yeah, Convergence is a great example of 2018 quality. Temporal Anomaly has been iteratively improving over 5 years, and now the VFX is on the same par, but not necessarily as ambitious. This one is what I can do now, and that I thought was very important to sort of end my fan film career, as it were, on a love letter to my own, I guess, progression, to say, here's 2012, my Stargate fan film, here's 2013, my Star Trek fan film, and here's 2018, the end of that journey. Wow, look at what I've done as an improvement. So that was, so thank you. Just years of experience and a little bit of pro skill to go there as well.
Xavier Gaming may ask how old Samuel is.
Guess.
See, I would say you're under 30 for sure.
Okay.
Mid to late 20s, so that would be my guess.
Well, we'll let the chat. We'll let them guess for a minute, and we'll reveal.
That's okay. I look like way younger than I am too. I always have to say, okay, no, I actually know about this stuff from the 80s because I'm old.
Yeah, I've an old. Well, I'm both young at heart, but also mature at heart. It's a weird combination because you don't want to get old. I think like my granddad, after my grandma died, he ended up getting a girlfriend basically, and it made him younger by 15, 20 years. It's as old as you feel on the inside as how old you can sometimes be on the outside. So trying to stay young by feeling young, and then making such fan films, I guess. Jesus, it's an insane thing to do. I mean, there's so few of us that really make them, and it does help, obviously, to be there's a difference between a fan making a fan film versus a filmmaker making a fan film. Massive difference if you actually understand the craft instinctively.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a good distinction to kind of make, that you are a filmmaker making a fan budgeted sort of film, being a fan of the series. It's not like an official release, CBS Paramount sort of production, but you are still a professional making this thing. And I think that's kind of the same along this is kind of why Star Trek Continues feels so well done, because they're filmmakers also. You have professional people doing professional stuff on these series, and it's not just I think that's such a stigma, because a lot of people think, oh, fan film, you're filming it on your cell phone in your backyard. Like no, there's kind of a difference there. So
and nothing against those people, obviously, but if I've been doing films for 11 years, I'm going to aim for something not only as good as I've done before, but better, because you should never try and go backwards. What would be the point? This is, even though this isn't going to win me any awards, it isn't going to get a million views, whatever. It should represent me and what I can do. What's the point if you're not going to put a lot of effort in, even if it literally means putting dozens, hundreds of hours of work. I mean, before we did the Convergence Indiegogo, which is, again, currently on Indiegogo now, please donate. The amount of hours we put in just to prepare, crazy. But because it needed to be really good, I wanted to make the best, the best Indiegogo video you could possibly see, with so much visual effects, so many actors, so many fun bits, really like another level, because I was hoping that would really sell people and get people involved. And we're almost at our funding goal, but still just need to get there a bit. Last
and if
little
you
bit,
guys do want to join, Seraph has been linking the link in chat every so often. I will get those edited and fixed once you guys watch this back live. But I'm kind of annoyed that the links didn't go. But thank you so much, Seraph, for being here and linking everything in the chat every few minutes for everybody. And he's
What a guy.
he's also linking Trekyards links. And if you see Trekyards in chat, you can just click on, and that's Captain Foley under the Trekyards handle tonight or this afternoon. You can click on him and go over to their channel, subscribe, watch all their stuff. They talk about the ships. They also don't always just do Star Trek. They've talked about Babylon 5, Stargate, you know, pretty much every,
Axe to Grind with Stargate. Those 3D scales piss me off. All of the scales except Destiny are all wrong, and yet people. I mean, have you seen on Prometheus video where like 8 minutes of it is like this is not what they'd say it is. Look.
Yeah. having like the little person here, and then like that.
I like spreading rumors like that.
Oh, and that's. But that's another thing about Stargate, though. I can kind of suspend my belief on Stargate because I enjoy it so much. It is so well done, so well written that, you know, the little details like the scaling, like just from a fan perspective without having to go in and look at the different detailed models, it doesn't matter so much to me, like, or little inconsistencies. And for the most part, Stargate doesn't have a whole lot of inconsistencies. You know, the only thing that they really dropped was people having frost on them when they come out of the gate. You know, that's really...
They put spray on them before they went through. It's fine, and anti-frost spray. No, it's funny. Stargate. I disagree with them. Even the scale being a problem. The scale in the show isn't a problem.
Yeah.
Only when they made the magazines, when they wrote the scales, and that was because a completely separate company was outsourced. And I've talked to visual effects department of Stargate. They were not asked once, so they invented their own scales based on nothing. That's why. But they're official. They're wrong. But they're official. If you look at the Canon, it can't possibly make sense. And like I see in the video, you know, if you go by the scale they say, then a deck is, you know, a physical person is 2 decks. It's like, well, clearly that's not right. Whereas if you look at the 3D scale to the reals, you know, it's like, yes, that matches perfectly. So, idiots.
Yeah.
One company can hurt it. It's like, you know, one person says Discovery, let's upscale it, and it's one person's decision. You know.
Yeah. And thank you so much. Hello, Cuban writer, Trekyards fan visiting your channel. Thanks for hosting the Commander. Oh, no problem. I mean, and obviously, I love doing sort of crossovers with other YouTubers. One of the things I always say is never a competition. We all have common viewers in kind of our little corner of the internet here, and you know, and again, apologies to Gary over at Nerdrotic for streaming on top of his Monday afternoon nooner. This is the only time we could really get together and do, you know, because my schedule is like so packed this week. This is the week of Halloween. There's a concert coming up, and of course with the Indiegogo campaign ending on was it end Friday? 5 days left. It ends the 2nd Saturday. Is that Friday or Saturday?
It's Friday. Yeah. Not got long left.
Yeah, so we really needed to get, you know, I really wanted to make time to kind of get on this, and, you know, so I appreciate you taking the time to come over and coming to me with this. You know, it's, you know, I always want to help out all the other YouTube channels, even, you know, like I kind of feel like you guys are so much bigger than my channel, but, you know, it's an honor that you chose my channel to come and talk about this too. So
it's nice talking to actual Trek fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've talked to the whole spectrum of people through this process, and everyone has very different questions because they all have different perspectives on Trek. You know, some people like the ships more, some people like the characters more, some people like the narrative. And it's great to talk to just the Babylon 5 connection and make that a real center point of this chat is very different. It's fun. And just so you know, Stuart is having a hissy fit on my Facebook. He needs attention. So let's talk about Stuart for like a minute. Just satisfy his ego. What do you think about Stuart? And only positives, because we're censoring ourselves here because he's telling me to.
It's fun. I like Stuart.
Saying only say beautiful. He's saying use the word beautiful in every sentence. Okay, he's got a beautiful mind. Your turn.
He has a beautiful wife. I'll be. I don't know.
He has beautiful children. Yeah.
Well, I don't know them, but no, I love Stuart. He's cool. You know, I actually got to be on a stream with Stuart and Anti-Trekker not too long ago, just briefly. And here's the thing about me: I will try and be on anybody's channel if they invite me, if I have time to do it. And that's kind of one of the great things. And I, you know, absolutely shout out to Stuart for, you know, taking notice in my channel, to, you know, noticing who I am. Like, I apologize, I can't always be over on Trekyards to moderate. It's one of the curses of being a popular YouTuber, I suppose. Not complaining one bit. Just, you know, there's so many like channels and streams that I want to be on that I can't always be on. But yeah, I mean, and you guys have really helped throw a lot of viewers to my channel as well. And of course, you know, I love that Trekyards are neutral, that they aren't going to just give me pretty much everything that I'm saying, you know. And of course, if I want a super negative review, I can go to other places for a super negative review. If I want kind of a super balanced review, I'll go to Trekyards. If I want like a super shill view, I can go to like a million channels that love absolutely everything about Discovery and don't say one word bad about it ever. And that's kind of one of the points about like Trekyards and Stuart and Samuel for sure, is that they are fair. They will point out the good and the bad. So yeah.
For me, it doesn't make sense, you know, when you watch anything, there's always good bits. Why would you just hate something? If you're hating it for the sake of hating it, you've already lost. What's the point then? And if you just love it because it's Star Wars, well, you're ignoring all the problems. So it's like, as a filmmaker, you show me any scene, I can tell you the reason for the camera angle, the focal length, possibly. You know, I can tell you it breaks down very differently. And same with visual effects. Oh, they did this because they're hiding this because of this. So as soon as you start thinking analytically, because I work in that field, you can take the same thing with dialogue. It's just an extension of a script. Oh, this one line doesn't work, but this line is amazing. So it's really nitty gritty, but just saying a show is good or bad, you know, there's some. I mean, not every episode of Friends is amazing. You know, Friends now ages worse, but doesn't it stop the good episodes from being good? You know, the I Am Your Father is still amazing, but does it work now that Anakin is a little kid that fancies his future wife that's 10 years older? I mean, there's now problems with the universe, but it doesn't stop the good thing. So everything is this big gambit. And, you know, I give credit, like I said, Discovery for the Mud episode. It's really fun. It's a really good episode, considering there's some good universe stuff. But same token, there's problems, because it's not my fault they're doing good and bad. But if you don't report good and bad, then you just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. You know?
Well, and even on my, you know, and people always say, oh, you're so negative all the time. No, I point out like the good things here and there. I do tend to get more attention on the bad things on the channel, and that's kind of what gets the clicks. And that's what the people kind of refer to is like, well, when I do something I'm absolutely a million times excited for, like William Shatner's Christmas album or something, nobody pays attention. It gets like 200 views. So when I do like a huge Discovery rant sort of video about an article, I find, and even if I put in like one or two positive comments about, you know, like the Stamets character or something, people don't even remember I said that. They'll only remember the rant about the other thing that I said. And like I've gone on record many times saying, you know, Stamets could be like the next McKay. You know, when you first see Stamets, he starts out as kind of a snotty, bitchy character to Lorca, and he has good reason to be. And he could have grown into this huge, you know, just had this huge, amazing story arc that they kind of forgot about halfway through, you know, and he could have been, I wanted to see more of him. And even the Harry Mudd episode, like the Groundhog Day episode where in the time loop, I really wish that episode would have been a Stamets episode and Michael Burnham just a side character or not even there, because he's the one who's affected by this. He's the one who understands that there's a time loop going on. He's the one who recognizes it and remembers it. You could have had the Burnham Ash Tyler sort of romance plot as a side, as like the B story.
Well, literally, it's in the background. Like he notices, and you only hear it through his perspective. You know, I mean, there's the Legends of Tomorrow episode, which is a time loop, and it's just from the perspective of the character that can do the loop. Because it's 40 minutes of her. It's so focused, and actually, it's her best episode by far because she has time. Yeah, it gives Stamets. You know, how do you know, look at Bill Murray, how he changed over the course of an hour and a half. Stamets could actually. He's not the one doing the time loop, but he could actually become much less dickish in that time.
Exactly.
You know? Or if it had been Lorca and he was actually a good guy the whole time, you know, he getting killed every 5 minutes, that could really change you because experiences change you. And then he got more mean again, did Stamets. Yeah, that was a weird. Got nice in the middle and got less nice. Weird.
Yeah, I know. And they're that's kind of one of the issues I have with Discovery's writing being so inconsistent. Like you have so many opportunities. You have these characters that you don't really utilize. You have, it's one of the biggest problems I have is that they don't focus on an ensemble cast. Like that's always like my first rule of how to fix Discovery. Get rid of the ensemble cast. Make it or get rid of the single character and focus on an ensemble cast. Sorry, misspeaking there. We need more characters than just Michael Burnham in every single episode. We need more Yeah, like I said, more Stamets, more Tilly, you know, more of these side characters. Like, you know, I often point out, you know, whenever I see pictures on Twitter, like they show the whole cast, I'm like, yeah, can your average Discovery viewer name all these people even? Because I can't, you know, I can name like Kayla because I looked it up, you know.
Well, another Red Letter Media reference. The prequels don't evoke your characters, and try and describe those characters with anything less than their base plot trait. Who is the pilot of Discovery? Well, she's the one with the bionic. That's her entire plot. Is that there's nothing else? Who was the guy that died? He's the guy that died and came back and he died again. Yep. There's nothing else plot wise. Even Burnham was very razor thin if you really break it down. You know,
she's the one who has to be the one to fix everything. Yeah, and it's like pretty much every other character is just there so she can save the day and bounce off of, like, you know.
It's so strange. I met her last weekend and I was so impressed. I was trying to meet Tilly and she was next to her and she was talking to a fan, and the amount of expression in her face, the amount of energy, the amount of love she was giving. And this was late on one of those. This was like not as much of an act as it could have been, because she was, at the end of the day, she was genuinely, I mean, they were obviously being positive, she was positive back, but the smile, like she's not who that character is. It's good. Her acting is really good if you think she's so not who she is. But if they'd given her a character where she could actually embrace, I was really impressed by her energy. It's like, oh, where is that? Because it can't be there. She can't give a big smile and, oh, I'm so happy.
Well, yeah, I saw a photo of her with LeVar Burton, and I'm like, is that his daughter? Oh, that's Sonequa Martin Green. Holy crap. Like, you know, I didn't even recognize her. She didn't even look like the same person from what she is on Discovery. And, you know, okay, is that her acting? Is that down to directing or writing? And I've read interviews and seen things where she said, yeah, she pretty much trusts what the writers and directors say. And if I were an actor, I don't know if I would do that so much. I you know, it feels to me like she's rather than kind of going in and really studying the source material. I don't know if she has to what extent she's studied everything. It almost seems like she's just kind of going by what some writer says on a first draft, and what like Akiva Goldsman might be telling her, and what Alex Kurtzman might be telling her, and all these people behind the scenes of, you know, well, here's the story, and she's kind of either left to her own devices with a lot of this, or is kind of blindly following a lot of this, and that's kind of what it seems like to me on a lot of this.
Whereas then, I mean, obviously it's a different parallel, but you know, when we had Star Trek V and Shatner wanted Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelly to do certain scenes, they refused because like, that's not what my character would do. Sorry, Bill, change it.
No, Nana Visitor on Deep Space Nine, she refused to let Kira go to bed with Dukat because she's like, no, my character would never sleep with Dukat. And of course, then they come back and like, yeah, but your mother did. Like, but she was right. She stuck to her guns, and I think that would have really weakened the character had she had an emotional or sexual affair with Dukat.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And I understand we're still in season 1. There's only, you know, 15 episodes. We don't have a lot to work with, but you know, the whole series really feels like a lot of first drafts and a lot of rewrites and a lot of reshoots and not a lot of direction. And I noticed it a lot more being a huge Babylon 5 fan that had the clear set out story arc. And even though it ended short in the end of season 4, you know, we still had characters.
Every episode had such a punch because of that. I mean, there's no frame wasted because of that.
Yeah, and just in comparison, like because of how Babylon 5 was arced and storied out in advance, like it really shows to me as kind of a fan of the science fiction genre television series sort of stuff. And you know, and I noticed that going back and rewatching SG1, there's a few things that didn't quite line up and a few story arcs that really didn't pay off. And yeah, even Atlantis to a certain extent. Atlantis maybe not so much because that was a little more clear cut. You know, Wraith bad. You know, we're going. You know, space vampires got it. You know, but yeah, like just Discovery in comparison to like Babylon 5 is just two completely different levels of storytelling.
I do think we're missing the most important thing. I do think that Stuart has a cameo in Convergence. He keeps bugging me. Stuart's in Convergence.
Yay!
Maybe screen share that because he's been bugging me every 5 seconds, Stuart. I mean, I know you wanna see yourself on the stream, don't you, Stuart? That's what it is. Where is it? Where's his face? You ready for his pretty face? You ready? His beautiful face? There you go. That beautiful man. Hope he's still watching. There he is. Yep. But he's not a captain. That'd be too easy. Or is he better than the captain? Or is he an ensign? I could really screw him, couldn't I? Ensign Stuart Foley, the chimney sweep of a Federation starship.
The guy who deals with the human waste or something. No. We didn't do that to him.
We reinvented the toilet just so you have to deal with it. But yeah, so do you have any questions about Convergence specifically? About the whatever? Now you've got more information about it?
I think we'll leave it up to the chat to ask, because like if I completely hog the thing, I don't want to like leave them out. Does anybody in chat have any questions?
Yeah,
I think Crewman Foley, Chef Foley.
Yes, post TNG film. I'll just scroll some visuals up, I guess, so they can see a few pretty things.
Inkwell, I guess, is asking, do big donations equal cameos?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna say no to that just because we want it funded and it's a hard cost to get things in. Yeah, maybe. We've already lost all of our big donation spots, but if you just message the Indiegogo campaign or email me privately, then yeah, maybe. There isn't. Maybe there are spots, but it's sort of thing where you need a decent budget yourself to be able to be in it, just because you have to buy a costume and such. So there's a few rings, but yeah, maybe. Yeah. Such a good atmosphere on this set. It was kind of amazing how the chemistry, you know, if you're watching the Indiegogo video, you can tell we're all having really good fun. And then also good quality content. That's one of those things you don't tend to demonstrate at both of them. Here's the... I always feel kind of bad with this image just because I'm still, you know, they're all Star Trek until you're not allowed to call it Star Trek anymore, but these are all the legacy names, you know. But yeah. Renegade. I mean, did you see Renegade? Did you enjoy the... I
didn't watch Renegade. I'm so bad. I've only really watched the Star Trek Continues. I need to watch all of this stuff. I just... Time is like such an issue with me.
Yeah. Well, but that's the nice thing about this. Because of this Convergence, this is a joint cinematic fan film universe. Because we are an Intrepid mid-series episode, we're a Dark Armada prequel, a Republic spin-off, a Temporal Anomaly sequel, and a Renegades prequel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Seraph watched Renegades. I really liked it, he says. Also, he asks, what's Stuart's cameo, or is it a secret?
It's a good little role, though. I will say it's not like a throwaway. It's a distinct plot thing because he's Stuart. No, it's a secret. It's a fun little payoff sort of cameo. Yeah. No, it's funny. The actual watch order, I believe, for these projects is you should probably watch Temporal Anomaly first, then Intrepid, then stop, then watch Convergence, then watch Intrepid again, finish Intrepid, then watch Renegades, then watch Dark Armada. So it's fun, convoluted, but it is meant to be canon to all of them. So we've got some nice perks. You can get signed scripts. This was kind of fun because it's just a little, you know, you're not actually allowed to give perks as one of the guidelines, but my implementation, there you go, was every perk is something that's super internal to production, nothing like merchandising. It's just like, this is literally just the script signed by people. That's it. It's super small, super simple. But if you're a fan of this sort of project, then getting a script signed by the entire cast, like this is never going to happen again. You know, all these people together in the same room. And if you were to send this to the 5 casts internationally, it would be, you know, difficult. And there's all the wonderful cast with Jim, who we have to fly in. Looking all very distinctive. And then those lovely ships. Again, Horizon just fits in just neatly. There's them doing beauties.
Yeah, Marlena Moreau is asking, how many episodes will Convergence have?
Just the single 30-minute 2-parter, which we're allowed to have by the guidelines, because we built it within the guidelines to be, you know, non-objectionable. So yeah, it's very carefully constructed 30 minutes. It'll probably be like 31 or such, you know. And And if we somehow in 5 days reach the $10,000 super chat goal, just stretch goal, then there'll be a bonus donor longer cut. There'll be 2 new added scenes just with extra stuff that I've already had thoughts about, but we're not going to reach that, so that's not to worry. But they'll probably, if it goes longer than it's allowed to be, then that will be the donor version, and then that will sleek it down a bit for the public version as by the guidelines. So yeah, very carefully written. There's no wasted dialogue, no wasted scenes. That's partially why I've used pre-existing characters, because I don't have to set any of them up. There's no introducing beyond the two new people. It's like I could just go into the action,
Mm-hmm.
There's the stretch goals. Yeah, you fees code. I'd love to do some behind the scenes stuff on this film because there's so much. It's groundbreaking in several ways in terms of the fan film world. And I did do 3.5 hours of special features for Renegade, so that's kind of what I did for them. So I know what I'm doing there. So it'd be kind of nice to add to it even more, and then a new scene, little character scene, a new engineering set, and then an original shuttle design, which I have an idea for. They would be cool if people donate. And how cool is this ship? I was able to bring back.
Nice.
I mean, you haven't seen Renegades yet, so I guess you don't know.
No, I need to. God, it's just me and time. Like I even had to cancel like the Babylon 5 watch parties because time is such an issue for me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing this until like the end of October at least. Yeah.
But what do you think of that design then?
That's actually really cool. That definitely, God, that actually looks like something that would be in like a Stargate sort of universe.
Yeah, it's very Aliens, isn't it?
Yeah, or Aliens for sure.
Yeah, it's a very, very real design. This is the Siphon Dreadnought. They just call it, well, they don't call it anything in the movie, the original movie, but it's called Barada's flagship. But for me, it's the Dreadnought or the World Killer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, nice title there. It's big ship. And you got this ship. This is the brand new ship that was in Renegades, the Federation ship. It's the Archer, which was a Rick Sternberg design as well, and Scott Nakada. This is their post TNG advanced ship, and this also is in my film. This is the ship the future captain brings back, so it's one of the newest ones of its class, which means it's slightly different technology, which is important actually, and lets me again have for fans of Renegades, you will see visibly the same stuff, and yet not. And again, Tobias Richter built this model, beautiful model. Familiar yet different, yet very similar. I mean, what do you think about the design yourself then, if it's the first time you're seeing it?
Those are nice too. Like, yeah. I like the little touches of gold. That's really interesting.
It's quite a colorful ship, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very. I love the little touches of gold. I always get a reminder of Stargate, but like I said, I'm a huge Stargate fan too.
Yeah, just throwing a mothership in just randomly.
Yeah, they're saying snakehead ship.
Yeah. I love those bastards as well. They're so advanced, but not too advanced. They scream power, which is weird because they're intakes to fuel. But okay, sure. There's the crew again. Yeah, we're gonna do some cool behind the scenes second shoot. We're gonna do the entire cast in videos. Again, first time, probably only time together. That'll be some fun stuff. See the chemistry of the cast. Yeah, there's a video there's this little roundtable coming out in a couple of days before the campaign, and just show you how fun we're all together. And it's a thoroughly inappropriate video. I'm going to release it anyway, because it's so wonderful to watch. The chemistry, you can tell everyone's having fun. It's really inappropriate, so I apologize in advance, but it's wonderful. I'm sure you'll and Stuart will love it. I'm sure. Yeah, and this is a lucky break. This is a costume that was made for Nick's wife, and still fits Nim. Oh, thank goodness.
Nice.
And again, she looks so smart. Love it. You just look smart in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. You need to stick with the uniform designs that we're used to, I think, which was one of my biggest problems on Discovery, is changing them to blue for no reason. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So Captain April says uniforms look good. That's not always a given with a fan production. Yeah,
we're very keen to have. There's only a few characters, and again, the people that came onto the production either made their own or made them for this. So we're allowed to. I mean, it's only a $5,500 budget. It's a super small budget. So every single way we can make it efficient was part of it. And so we brought a few characters, which means few uniforms, which means we can raise the bar on all of them. Hopefully,
exactly.
Indiegogo page, because why not?
And you can have lower like fewer characters and less things going on in the background. You don't need to have these giant massive universes where you know, like that's one of the issues I have with a lot of the Star Wars movies, like the newer ones especially. Like they just throw so much stuff on screen you can't even see it all. And I get it, it's supposed to be this giant grand scale of things, but you know, sometimes you can just tell a really interesting story with just a handful of people. And that's one of the things, like I kind of get reminded of like bottle episodes of series, you know, and anytime you have like two people who are just interacting for very long periods of time. Babylon 5 again, you know, Londo and Jakar in an elevator. Those sort of things. You don't need a whole lot of stuff going on. Or Stargate, you know, Samantha Carter and Dr. Zelenka in an elevator, or yeah, I guess that's kind of the elevator over on Atlantis. You can have these sort of smaller things and have it about character interaction, what they're dealing with, what they're going through. You don't always need huge, massive amount of stuff flying at the screen all the time.
Well, at the end of the day, you are following the characters. That's the core. And I wrote another fan film for another group, and I told them, you know, you've got 8 characters. You can't give them enough screen time to be worth it. You can either make 8 characters that don't mean anything, or 4 that mean something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and every time and don't introduce people just because you want them to be in the film. They are taking a good line away from someone who will add to their character. And it's so important. So same thing. Every single, you know, this is the biggest crossover on purpose, but everyone isn't a cameo. Every single character is a full character with a full arc, with a full motivation, everyone has moments, everyone has good and bad moments. It's super important because that's who you're following.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I did see someone asked in the chat. Well, they said all the best perks are gone. Are the new ones going to come along? And sort of, we are doing a couple of bonus perks at the end. We're going to offer some custom animations, and we're going to offer some not necessarily the executive producer stuff again, just because that's meant to be rare on purpose. But we're going to offer a few more higher perks at some point, because people have been amazing and support at the higher level. You know, less people need to give if they give 100 each. You know, but there's a lot of cool, fun, younger perks or less big perks as well. You know, posters. I mean, our big thing is posters. You know, I mean, you know, hopefully you'll agree this art's kind of cool. You know, you can get signed perks by the captains and such. Just something, you know, I mean, Indiegogo is always, you're not buying something, you're donating towards a project, but you get something cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you get something that's limited and cool to be part of your archive, your collection, but really you're helping this project. You know.
Yeah. Because at the end, you're having something you can watch repeatedly that other people can watch too. You're kind of an investor in the series, you know. Yeah. And that's kind of what's really important. You're basically a producer almost, in a sense.
Yeah, for $15, you are one of the people that is making it happen, that allowing it to happen. That's amazing. And then all the people after you will be like, well, without you, it didn't happen. And you know, we need more people to help. It's pretty simple. We want to do it anyway. We want to try and make it anyway, but you know, there's so much. It's, you know, raw funds. It's just a plane from America to England for a weekend is a genuine, you know, expense. You can't negotiate with. Yeah, you can't negotiate with the airline, can you?
Nope, that's not cheap. Yeah, when I went to the UK 4 years ago, it was like $1,400 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we're hoping. Yeah, we're hoping it's less than that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a round trip from Vegas, but I also had a flight up north because I ended up going to Newcastle, so I didn't really see London, but yeah. So yeah, it's not cheap to like just plane tickets, hotels, food, lodging, stuff like that. Absolutely, and you know, a lot of the times you guys kind of. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that when people do the fan projects, that they end up a lot of the time they're just putting in their own money. They're putting in a lot of their own costumes, their own hours to do this. They're not necessarily being paid a salary for doing these because you can't be, because you're donating, you know, like I if you kind of calculated how many man hours you put into just the ship design, you know, you probably couldn't off the top of your head, or any hours for the script. I mean, you can't really do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, all these people have genuine lives. They could spend a weekend working and earn money for their family, or they could, come and spend the weekend working hard on production. And I would rather they don't have to pay the plane ticket. So not only do they have to give up time, energy, their weekend, and money to be on someone else's project that doesn't get them anything beyond cool. You know what I mean? That's why I wanted to pay all the food on the entire filming session, because it mounts up. They've already, we all self-funded the first half, knowing we were trying to raise budget for the full thing. So we put money in, and so I put a lot of money down for for things. I wanted to buy everyone dinner because it's just a simple thing. It takes time to fly over to the UK. It takes time to be this, and obviously I'm putting a lot of man hours. It's my project. Now I'm honored to make something kind of cool. And I'm not, not paying myself to make visual effects. It's my film, which is good. It means you get high-end visual effects for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't have to like go and hire somebody to do it for you, and that would be like where it really costs a lot of money to come in and hire like a costume designer and somebody. Okay, now we need like this editor and we need this sort of script super. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I think your average kind of even myself, you don't really think about how much work and how many people go into a lot of even fan projects, and I think a lot of people don't. And a lot of people like kind of have the stigma still, like like I said earlier, like it's something being shot on your cell phone in your backyard, and like yes, you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but like this is kind of professional level as much as you can get with cameras, lighting, scripts, computer renders, all this stuff.
I call this very much a fan film made by fans for fans, but with some professional know-how thrown in the mix. Because it's not the continues where everyone's a full professional. Like I'm a professional cameraman. I'm not a professional visual effects artist. You know what I mean? I'm not a professional green screen artist. I'm professional in a field, not necessarily all. I'm just having to be good at the stuff. So it's and Nick done very good costumes, and I do think over 10 years they've improved their acting, and again with a good director that can channel them, I think it does make a big difference. But I think it's a very good mid-level fan film. Of what we can get nowadays, this I think is going to be. I think for what it can be, it's going to blow people away.
Yes,
that's what I'm really hoping.
Well, and like I bring in Star Trek Continues for what that was. That was just mind blowing, and I consider that canon to me.
Yeah, I mean they also had 60K an episode plus pre-existing sets that were built on a different budget. If I had 60K, obviously I'd do it in 4K. I would fly them down for a week and be able to do all the other stuff as well. I mean, if I got 60K, I'd film like an hour and a half and not only release 30 minutes to the fans, because the guidelines only state for public release. I could raise $1 million privately without doing a fundraiser and make a 2-hour film and pay everyone if it was private. Sorry, but that's not. I obviously want people to see it. Like we said with Trekyards, why create content unless you want people to watch it? If you're not trying to do it to an audience, then do whatever you want. But if you're trying to make it for people, then you need to try and make the quality make sense, because you expect people to watch it.
Exactly.
And I will just say we've got a donation live from Abaddon 1125, another $15. Yay!
Yay!
No, it's great. I mean, being part of the family, being part of this little community of backers is really cool. Lots of people. We're almost at 4,900. With 50, if one more person wants to give another $15, then we'll be at 4,900, which is only 600 away from our goal. So close. 15.
At least get up to 5,000. If we can get you guys to 5,000, that'd be great.
Yeah, and there is, like I say, there is cool stuff I think on these poster deals and stuff. And obviously, I love that all the top stuff got taken up. But I am going to do some more custom perks. I'm thinking. You let me know if you think they're a good idea. I'm going to be doing a maybe 3 custom prints of an Intrepid class. If you want. You let me know what the scene is, and I'll build it with our fan model, which we can do stuff with the fan model for like $100. So if you want a picture of Voyager flying atop this picture of your house, okay, sure. The quality I can do, and we're also going to offer MSDs, like I mentioned earlier, of the ship. If you like Horizon, that's a really cool piece for sure for like $15-20. And maybe an animation package if you want to see me fly do a custom Connie animation. Again, whatever you want for another $50 or something, just to give people some chances to get some cool stuff. Because again, most people can't get my services normally, sort of thing. So getting the lead technical guy of Trekyards to do a custom animation, I hope is kind of cool.
Yeah,
hopefully,
absolutely. Well, and yeah, that's one of the things people probably don't know, that you do all of the renders and the animations for Trekyards as well. So if anybody has just seen the opening intros of any of the Trekyards videos, you guys actually have professional quality stuff on your channel, and you're very well edited, well put together. You use actual quality stuff. You have quality graphic overlays and everything. And then, hopefully this is like good enough to kind of slum on my little Google Hangout stream here, doing it the quick, easy way without, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's again, we started it knowing we wanted to do a certain quality. We've improved over the years, but yeah, I've learned animation. All those things come into it just fine and fun and cool. And yeah, Trekyards is great because it's a wonderful teamwork. Stuart happened to be a guy that was good at game information. That's sort of his thing, and I was a filmmaker. So what we do is perfect for us working together, and such that Stuart puts it all together. And a lot of the time, I'll be embarrassed to say, the first time I read the episode is when we're doing the dress rehearsal before the filming. And I'll do a complete from never seen before. When I'm acting, I'm doing reading the script like I read it before, and I know what I'm saying. I have no idea what the next line is, but I'm saying it like I know. But I trust him, and it's always so good. In the olden days, I had to check because he sometimes missed occasional bits of canon, and now I just trust him totally because it's really cool. It's a fun experience. Yeah.
And if you guys haven't checked out Trekyards, yeah, they do all these really awesome discussions about ships. They know every detail about every single ship for Star Trek to Babylon 5 to Stargate to all these ships and all these different sort of franchises that you guys will know and will enjoy. So and of course, I always like to point out they are very neutral when it comes to something like Discovery. They point out the good and the bad. And they do a lot of like the Eagle Moss ship model reviews. They do all that sort of stuff too. So if that is definitely your thing, and my channel, I don't really talk so much about a lot of the tech so much. A lot of mine is responding to like article stuff, responding to character stuff. And you want something more technical, they're definitely the channel you guys want to check out.
Well, thank you.
I support all these YouTube channels anyway. I like to sending people, because I always say this: it's never a competition. We always have common viewers, and if I'm giving you something that's unique to what I give people, and another channel gives something in their own way, I have no problem with that. I know I certainly watch pretty much the same article 5 times over by all the different channels I watch. I watch like this person review it or read an article, this person, and they'll have pretty much, they'll have kind of the same take, but then they'll have their own unique perspective as well. So and that's, I think, how a lot of people view YouTube as well, So yeah. I think Mecha would make a perfect cameo for Convergence. They have their set of actors, and I don't want to shove my way into anything.
Yeah, one of the jokes about that, as I mentioned earlier, is that they're actually, every single crew is out beyond the edge of the Federation. That's kind of part of the plot, and so no one can literally be anywhere. There is no contact with anyone else. And like we had some guy email me very early on saying, "Oh, can I add this character to my fan film?" I'm like, I mean, no. I don't know who that is. I don't know what plot they'd play, and they're over in the Alpha Quadrant. No. But the only way you can sort of a cameo is like in costume, which then is a full costume. It's got to be of similar quality, on a green screen in the background of one of the consoles, because it's so focused. But we're hoping to do a digital crew, because there needs to be a crew of all these ships.
Yeah. Oh, 90 Lancaster's correcting me. I had a transporter rant the other week. I guess I do sometimes rant about those things, but a lot of time I don't remember what I say.
It's interesting stuff. I should, yeah. It's to me anyway.
Yeah, Captain April says Trekyards are the polite, civilized ones that we let make the first contact. We're the savages that tear them apart afterwards.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes I'm sometimes I'm a little more diplomatic too, but sometimes I have my rants.
Yeah. That's what we do.
Does anyone else in the chat have any more questions? I don't want to keep you here all day, obviously. I know you're a very busy man, and I know it's like probably getting pretty late over there in the UK too.
Well, I got to work a lot later, so it's all good. I'm doing stuff about have you seen the Romulan War fan film? Did you Did you follow that Indiegogo or not?
I didn't follow that one. I'm trying to remember which films that like. Oh, the one I saw something that Tim Russ directed with.
Yep, those are the Renegade ones.
Oh, okay. So I did see that. Okay, I saw that one.
All the Canon against Chekhov and such.
It's been so long since I've seen any of it.
Yeah, but Romulan War is a fun one. I've been working on for 2 years now as a VFX coordinator. I've also designed like 5 ships for it, which has been an unusual experience to say the least. So it's got a lot of me in it. I also designed the digital backgrounds. Oops, a lot of stuff for me. But I'm doing some shots today about that. Of what's it called? It would be, without spoiling it, it's the aftermath of a battle with lots of murder. Oops. No, lots of. I've killed so many people in that fan film because the director says, "Right, the space battle, destroy these 4 ships." I'm like, "Oh, Mark, I'm killing like 10,000 people. Do it!" It's like, oh, Mark, stop. I've destroyed so many things.
Aw.
I felt I destroyed a space station. I feel so guilty. Literally, I was like, a lot of people in the space. They just finished it. God, terrible. That's why it's nice to have a director sometimes that has a specific thing, because it's pushing you to things that you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know, a whole lot of stuff. Like, I know he's very keen. This is a nice detail I would not normally include, but I don't tend to have fleets. Every single ship in Romulan War, in the multiple scenes, has to have consistent registries for who is in what battle and who gets destroyed and not. So that's a pain in the ass, because it's like, oh, that ship should be Agamemnon. It's like, to re-render that layer with the correct registry. You know, and that's dedication, but it's true. If you actually watch the DS9 battles, no ships have registries except the ones close to camera, if it's a Reliant, Excelsior, or Defiant, and they have repeated ones. It's always Majestic for the for Reliant. It's always I don't remember what the Excelsior one is, but it literally is. No one ever complains. It's like you watch the battles, not a single ship has registries anywhere, because they couldn't make 33 textures realistically. That's a big thing you never think of. It's a big continuity flaw, but you know what? You know.
So we have another question. Did you get to choreograph any action scenes?
All of them.
All of them. Are there a lot of action scenes?
Well, there's no actual physical fight scenes. No, everything's ship based. Yeah, I've choreographed all the weapon scenes. I mean, again, it's science fiction. It's thinking about things. It's space. It's bigger scope. You know, at no point do I beam onto a planet, have a hand-to-hand fight with an alien that takes 4 minutes of the 30. You know, it's very focused for what it has to be. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds, you know, and some of the times, like you get some of these really big, elaborate battle sequences, and you know, especially with Discovery, I got to pick on Discovery again. You can't see them. You can't even see them. Like, and they're spending all this time and money on these sequences, and that's one of the things I pointed out in the last episode I reviewed. It was, I believe, the episode Jonathan Frakes directed, where you finally actually see the ships next to each other. And yeah, like when they have these big battle sequences, you don't even see them half the time in some of these things.
Yeah, Convergence Discovery is very poorly CGI'd. It doesn't make any sense to me. Just yeah.
Do consoles explode and people go flying? Seraph asks.
People go flying. There's a really, really fun behind the scenes, because again, I was very conscious. Literally, Robin brought his girlfriend to the shoot, and she was behind the scenes filming dedicated the entire time. So you have a lot of, I think, of like 2.5 hours of behind the scenes footage, and that's just the first shoot. Plus, I did I put my phone on tripod and just filmed like this whole take, just from A quality. It's not meant to be like amazing, just something cool. And there's a great moment when we try and practically do the rumbling effect of being hit by weapons, and it's funny. I think consoles explode. That's a whole separate thing, but we do see consequences of consoles exploding, if that makes sense, because ships do get a bit damaged. That's gonna be a real pain in the ass, but it'll look good. Yeah.
Lee Crystal had a question. Where can we see a list of his works and/or links?
It's funny, if you watch the Indiegogo video, you can just say what I've done. And that's a good way of, I didn't realize how much I'd done until I made that. But yeah, I've done Once More the Feeling, which is a Australian fan film. That was a fun one. It's Excelsior versus Keldon. That was fun. I've done Romulan War, which you can see trailers of easily online. I've actually done the Romulan War as well, which was years ago. The first version of the Romulan War, I did an episode of that. CGI, obviously Trekyards. Lots of episodes of Trekyards, my visual effect work. I've got an upcoming product called Ghost Ship, which is really exciting. It's a unique universe. It's TOS era, but it's a unique version of TOS era, which is visually updated as a combo of JJ, Discovery, and Prime, meaning Prime sets, Beyond uniforms, Discovery, Silver Com badges, and certain props. So it's a very interesting combination, and the visual effects are again a visual update on TOS, but I'm doing them, so I'm not letting it not be canon. But it's a very interesting, like, how I would visually update it, and you'll see that pretty soon. It's meant to be done. And temporarily trailers, and there's more stuff, and then Convergence. So it's I'm everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sarah asks, do you have a portfolio page?
No, I've Trekyards, obviously. I've got a website which shows my different sci-fi costumes. If you Google my name and costumes, that's fun. Pictures of me through the years. Not really. I mean, it's ironic. A lot of this stuff is self-promotion, but I'm so busy doing the work. You know, I'm juggling 5 projects, so it's like constant just work. So I focus on the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that sounds like something that in the future, you know, if you're to kind of go into a more professional era or area or something, that I mean, I think people could like really easily just kind of look up what you've done, and I had somebody else in chat a while ago say, "Oh yeah, he does like better work than a lot of the professional stuff that they're seeing on some of these shows."
Well, I try and make it look like the show. I mean, it just feel like a sexier, high definition version of what we know. You know, I mean, let me send you the only still I sort of have that represents that, I think. But you know, I mean, there's the Voyager, there's the Equinox, there's Horizon, I mean, how does that look compared to your Trek knowledge?
Yeah, it looks here. Let me focus it. Yeah, it looks like it should. Yeah, it definitely looks like it should. And it's a little more updated as far as it doesn't look like there's a giant spotlight kind of shining on there, and it does look a little more like, okay, we're in space. You can see like the blue coming from the one side where the light hits it for sure. And that's not, I don't have any problem with like having a little more modern, a little slightly more realistic look, because like if you actually saw a ship in space, you wouldn't be able to see it at all.
Yeah.
But this is for television or for movies or something. We need to be able to see what we're looking at. And yeah, like I don't have a problem. That looks really good.
Yeah, it's just there's slightly more blacks and whites contrasty. It's just slightly more dramatic, but it's still visibly Trek, and those ships still look like they should. They're not different colors, they're not whatever, and just HD updated. That's all it needs to be, really, because the designs are amazing by themselves. So.
Yeah. MK Dumas 1981 says Samuel Cockings, the British Nicholas Meyer, TM.
Thanks. Cool, if you think so. Yeah. It's funny again, there's things I'm very careful with what I reveal, because I've got a project that hasn't even been announced. I'm working on it yet, but really that's like everyone's going to see that and be like, "Oh, I'm very excited about it." And I made like 6 shots yesterday. It was a really busy day. There's another one, sort of sequel to one the others have done, and they want it's also TOS, and they want Klingons. Cool. But again, well, okay, it's the sequel to the Ghost Ship one, so it's visually rebooted, visually updated, but it's still canon. So they were saying, well, what do you think? I said, well, hey, give me some budget, because everything takes budget to build the 3D model, to do it properly, and let me go in and visually modernize a D7, but still canony and making sense, and like, that great thing of what could have been in Discovery if they actually cared, and so I'm really interested to go through that, and like, how would you update it? And
exactly,
I'm excited about that, because it's such a classic. But you also can't go Katinga. You can't go what they did before. You go something new and different, but still the same. I like challenges. I like trying to think it through.
Yeah, and that's to me like just kind of taking a couple of minutes to think about how this is going to fit in would really it seems like that makes the world of difference on something versus something that you can kind of clearly say, oh, they just kind of heard a reference in casual and they're going to drop this reference into a series because fans want references, right? No, really, we want no, and that's kind of I pick on Discovery again. I'm sorry. I should probably stop doing that. I do it a bit. Oh, Marlena asks in chat, is there going to be a funding campaign for Ghost Ship? If so, take my money.
Nope. Film's already filmed and done. Visual effects are done. Nope. They might do for the second one, but no, it's all just they want to make it, so they made it. Cool.
But you guys can donate to this project right here, and the link is in chat. You can donate to Convergence if you do want to. And that
almost
one,
there. Yeah. So close.
Yeah.
I really hoped that the 10K was a stretch goal. I really hoped that we'd get, because I think a lot of people want post TNG. They want that era. They want to see that alive again. And I was really hoping people would think, yes, I'll give a few bucks. I'll help. That I could get 7 or 8K, so that anything that comes along, we know we had the budget, because for Temporal Anomaly, every single costume item I got from America had customs charge. That wasn't the budget. Ended up paying like $600 just in custom charge, because there was a lot. I had to buy everything from scratch. So it's like, well, what if that happens again, and I've got to pay 100 here, 100 there? Well, it just starts going to our own pockets, and we're doing this for you guys. That's the point of a budget, is supporting to be able to do it without worry. We just go into the film industry, let's just make it, and then walk away, and then finish it, and then it would be nice. But it's up to you guys. The quality you get is what you support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we do have 38 viewers right now, so if we could get it to 5,000 today, and also when you guys do watch this back, we'll try not to keep it super, super long, so you guys can watch this back as a video later on too. And the links will be in the description, and you guys will see the chat replay, so you can click all the links in the chat replay if you are watching this later on. And like anytime we have these sort of fan projects and stuff, like I hate doing the kind of raise money for things sort of streams when I don't absolutely have confidence in the project. So that's why I'm like, yes, absolutely, I will throw your set up links, do what I can to direct anybody I can over there, because I know we have a lot of common viewers. I know we have a lot of people who could be potential viewers between both of us, and I'm not going to ask somebody on, or let somebody on the channel who's going to like try and promote something that I don't believe in and I don't think is going to be worth your guys' time and your guys' money. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
My recommendation on this, and you guys know how picky I am with stuff and how how hot-headed I can be with things. If I hate something, I'll tell you.
Well, thank you. Well, and speaking of, I think we're about the 2-hour mark, which is what we sort of and internally have the thing. So yeah, some good questions though. Thanks for all those chats. Always nice to have it. We didn't know if we were going to live, so I think it was worth it to have a bit of real time.
Absolutely, yeah. We were kind of debating, okay, do we go live? Do we just do the hangout and then post it later? But no, I'm glad we did it live, because you guys are so awesome, and you guys can think of stuff that I might not think of off the top of my head, something we might forget, something we might miss. So yeah. Stuart wants a wrench. I have too many wrenches. I got to get rid of some of my wrenches, Stuart. That's the thing. Like I don't want to be an off-putting chat. Like we did this a lot in gaming where they have just a wall of wrenches. So we'll see.
Oh. Thanks so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. It's nice to be interviewed, talk about something that is your own thing. I mean, Trekyards is daily, but it's nice to talk about something that is narrative, is trying to tell a good story, is trying to be my own little contribution, for what that's worth, to the Trek lore and Trek universe. It's been something I've loved since I was 2.
Oh yeah.
And if I could show myself anything I've been doing recently, I would also not believe in myself. It would be ludicrous. And so to look back and be able to say, I made a really good looking 90s looking Star Trek short that's 30 minutes. I'm like, oh damn, that's good. And I can show my kids, go from Voyage to Convergence. Like, look, it's just the next episode. Oh wow, Dad, it's in high definition. Yeah, and also I made that. It's like, whoa, why does it look so crap though? But it's 90s, trying to look like 90s, but that's the thing. I'm not trying to make it look like hyper real, modern, hyper modern. It's trying to look like just an updated 90s, which is the golden age of Trek. Yeah, DS9 and TNG and Voyager, and First Contact and Generations. You know, that's the look they built.
Exactly.
I'm using the same software, the same lighting engine, so I've got that advantage. It could look the same. It's always my my thing with visual effects.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the things that people often complain about with something like Discovery is when you have something that's established that we already have a look for, why change it? You know, you want to match the era. I mean, it's science fiction, but it's still of a time and of an era, you know, and you want to kind of match that aesthetic as much as you can.
It's a period piece in post TNG, so it should look like the era it's set in.
Exactly.
First rule when you set an era, make like the era.
You know, it wouldn't make sense to have, you know, cell phones in Red Dead Redemption 2. So, of course, that'd be kind of funny.
It'd be funny. And should I mention Stuart's last note, because he wants me to mention his last note, but it's a plug for one thing he's going to do. Are you gonna let me plug it, or are you going to shout it down?
No, go ahead and plug it.
He says he's doing a live Starfleet Command Volume 3 Let's Play later on today.
Okay.
I've never seen him play, so I'm kind of excited about that because he doesn't like that game as much. But it's a cool game.
Nice.
So I'm going to watch that.
Nice. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing later on today. I don't know if I'm doing more videos or if I'm going to play more Red Dead Redemption. And if you guys want to watch Red Dead Redemption, let me know in my videos too. I'm kind of bringing a little bit of Let's Plays back to the channel, just a little bit, not too much, to kind of break up the vlogging, because I know I've had some weird. It's a weird YouTube algorithms, right? YouTube algorithms.
The bane of our existence and also our salary. So it's yeah. Or we'll see you tonight if new Discovery news comes out, because
that's another thing. Yeah, you have to kind of go when the news drops, as it were. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for being here. And if you guys do want to check out the Indiegogo, the link is in the chat right now. Yes. And there's also going to be like the actual links that actually work in the description. I know YouTube had a hiccup saving everything, so thank you so much, Samuel, for being here, and Captain Foley in chat. And thank you guys all in chat. We had a good solid about 40 viewers the whole time, which is great for some stream that's like kind of unscheduled, but it has been a blast. So where can we find you? Where else can we find you? You want to plug anything else?
Yeah, sure. Just Trekyards on YouTube, on Facebook, on other Facebooks. There's a group and a page. Or Power 5 Fan Films, which is the YouTube account for Convergence. It's got interviews of the project that I've been releasing every other day, and previous work. If you want to look at my Stargate fan film, because I am the director of the #1 viewed Stargate fan film in the world too. If you're a fan of Stargate out there.
Stargate fan. Yeah, huge Stargate fan.
There you go. Well, go watch that after this, and it's like, oh my god, yeah. Anyway, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for. I'm honored that a much larger YouTube channel decides to include me in some of these things, and thank you guys, and thank you all at Trekyards as well, and the viewers for supporting my channel as well. So I mean, it's a great community that I think in the whole Trek fandom. So thank you guys so much.
It'll only grow, which is exciting.
Absolutely. She said my name. I'm famous. Yes. Do you have a MySpace for Trekyards?
No.
Charles Holmes says. MySpace is a little out of
We have an AOL though.
Oh wow. But yeah, thank you guys so much. It has been a blast, and we will see you guys on the next video or live stream. And go over to Trekyards if you haven't subscribed there yet. Go support the Indiegogo. Bye.
Bye guys.